Today was the 10th day since Mo Shu arrived at the arena. Within 10 days, Mo Shu went from a student who had been booed in the arena, to the king of the underground arena that everyone knew. He enjoyed the cheers in the arena every day and became the undefeated legend of the people, Blood Fist. Early in the morning, Shui Jin called Mo Shu over. "Mo Shu, how have you been these past few days?" Mo Shu said excitedly, "I've been great. I've never received so much money or enjoyed such a life." Shui Jin was very satisfied with Mo Shu's answer. "Not bad. However, the remuneration for the past few days has not increased. What do you think of this?" Mo Shu said nonchalantly, "It's fine. I already have a lot of money. I just need to maintain the status quo." After hearing Mo Shu's words, Shui Jin said with a disappointed expression, "Mo Shu, where's your drive when you first came here? How can you be content with the current situation? Wouldn't it be good to obtain more money to go to university?" Mo Shu spread out his hands and said, "I don't lack anything now, so why do I still need to go to university? Isn't the point of going to university just to live like this? I already have it?" Shui Jin knew that Mo Shu had completely fallen into his hands. He was content with the current situation and obeyed orders. "Look at this." Mo Shu took the document that Shui Jin handed to him and opened the first page. His expected rewards were written on it. Ticket revenue, 200,000 yuan. Revenue from expected tips, 500,000 yuan. Estimated revenue from bets, 10 million yuan. Mo Shu suddenly looked up at Shui Jin, his eyes filled with disbelief. "Boss Shui, what is happening here?" Shui Jin stood up and patted Mo Shu's shoulder. "If you want to lose tonight, you'll get this amount of money, perhaps even more." Mo Shu frowned and said, but I just became the new king of the underground arena. This is when I..." Shui Jin laughed loudly. Mo Shu's words at this moment meant that he no longer resisted losing the competition. "Mo Shu, after you lose this round, take the money and have fun outside for a few days. When you come back, I will arrange for your winning streak." Mo Shu said reluctantly, "But what about my fans? If I lose, they won't support me anymore." Shui Jin said meaningfully, "Do you think that the audience likes to see the king undefeated without a doubt, or do you think they prefer seeing the king coming back to destroy any doubts?" A glint flashed across Mo Shu's eyes. After some thought, he said, "All right, I'll lose tonight. What's the script like?" "The document I gave you just now is followed by the script. Go back and prepare well." Mo Shu nodded and left the room without another word. Shui Jin leaned back in his chair and made a call. "It's ready. Don't worry, Mo Shu is still under control. He's just a student." Mo Shu did not return to his room. Instead, he kept walking along the corridor. After a long time, he saw an acquaintance walk out of their room. Only then did he return to his own room. Then, he sent a message to Yu Yuan. "Aunt, check the specific gambling methods of the underground arena." 10 minutes later. The gambling method is a little special. All audience members who enter the venue must use their real names and provide the arena with a bank account number. After entering the venue, the audience members can place their bets in the special software used in the arena. The results of the competition and the bet will be automatically settled by the software. After the competition ends, the first thing the arena needs to do is to transfer the winnings into the audience's accounts via an anonymous account. The money will be transferred to the accounts in real time. Mo Shu finally understood why very few people reported the arena to the authorities even though there were so many people in the audience. The reason was because of the system. The arena transferred the winnings to the audience's accounts in real time to restrict and fix their customer base. It was unknown who came up with this operation method. Mo Shu sent a message to Mu Qingyi, Yu Yuan, and Lu Ziyang. "Ants, draw in the nets tonight. The plan is as follows." At the rooftop of the Sky Treasure Hotel. Tonight is the first battle after the new king of the arena has ascended to the throne. Do I need to introduce Blood Fist to everyone? Everyone cheered. "No need, Blood Fist, Blood Fist, Blood Fist." The MC gestured for the audience to quiet down. "Everyone, calm down. I have yet to introduce his opponent. Blood Fist's opponent is a new king boxer, Silver Warrior. He has unparalleled speed and can often win by surprise." The audience became noisy again. "What the heck? Silver Warrior fought almost 200 matches before he advanced to become a king boxer. There's no competition at all. I reckon Blood Fist will be done in one punch. There's no suspense at all. Blood Fist, I will bet everything on your victory. The MC could not control the emotions of the audience and could only shout loudly. Let us welcome both parties into the arena. The first is Silver Warrior. The crowd booed even louder than the first time Mo Shu went on stage. Silver Warrior practically walked up the stage with his head lowered. Next is the king, Blood Fist. The entire audience erupted into a sea of cheers. Mo Shu was in no hurry. He slowly walked towards the competition venue. During this time, he made a lot of interactions with the audience. While walking to the arena, he took off his cloak and threw it at the spectators. After arrogantly walking onto the stage, Mo Shu leaned against the edge of the stage and greeted the audience, completely disregarding his opponent. In the next segment where both sides looked at each other, Mo Shu was even more aggressive. He walked forward as he watched and was warned many times by the MC. Meanwhile, Silver Warrior was a little timid and kept retreating, not daring to look at Mo Shu. Mo Shu shouted loudly, Silver Warrior, was it? I think you should go down, lest you get seriously injured and can't fight in the future. The mood in the venue was raised to the highest point. Then, the MC gave the order for the competition to begin. Begin. At the same time, Yu Yuan and Lu Ziyang sneaked into Sky Treasure Hotel. Old Yu, do you think Boss Mo Shu's plan will work? Isn't it a little too hasty to draw in the net now? Yu Yuan said angrily, if you want to leave, sure. You can be the boss. If not, follow the plan. How's the law enforcement team doing? Lu Ziyang said smugly, Boss has instructed me to contact the law enforcement team. I've been constantly testing these few days and finally found someone I can trust completely. Just watch carefully. Yu Yuan nodded. Although Lu Ziyang was usually cheerful, he was also an extremely serious person at crucial moments. When the match began, Mo Shu did not even activate his skill. He just quietly looked at Silver Warrior and made an inviting gesture. Silver Warrior gritted his teeth and activated his skill to charge towards Mo Shu. At this moment, Mo Shu used his skill and kicked Silver Warrior. Silver Warrior was kicked and retreated to the edge of the field before stopping. Then, he looked warily at Mo Shu. Seeing that Mo Shu did not make any further moves, Silver Warrior rushed forward again. With a simple punch, Mo Shu knocked Silver Warrior back again. After that, Silver Warrior rushed forward again. This continued for more than 10 times. Mo Shu stood firmly on the spot, while Silver Warrior was sweating profusely from running back and forth. Shui Jin, who was sitting in the front row, nodded. Mo Shu had done well. Everything was going according to the script. After a few more moves, Mo Shu seemed to have lost interest in playing and took the initiative to attack. However, since Silver Warrior was too fast, Mo Shu couldn't hit him. After a few minutes of chasing, Mo Shu forced Silver Warrior into a corner and punched him. Below the stage, Shui Jin's lips curled up slightly. According to the script, Silver Warrior should quickly move behind Mo Shu and deal a critical hit. After that, the battle would turn around. Then, Mo Shu would be defeated after being unable to resist. Mo Shu punched out and Silver Warrior disappeared before quickly appearing behind Mo Shu. Everyone thought that Mo Shu would definitely be hit by this attack, including Shui Jin. However, no one expected Mo Shu to suddenly turn around and use his full strength with his right fist. Everyone present heard the sound of the wind breaking from this punch as it directly hit Silver Warrior on the back. Silver Warrior was directly hit to the ground as a deep pit appeared on the ground. Shui Jin could no longer remain calm when he saw this. He slammed the table and stood up, staring at Mo Shu in disbelief. Mo Shu also turned to look at Shui Jin with a smile on his face, appearing very polite. Shui Jin shuddered when he saw Mo Shu's smile. What exactly was going on? The MC did not react to the sudden end of the competition. After a short moment of shock, he immediately announced the results. The Blood Fist didn't disappoint and won easily. Text message notifications resounded throughout the entire venue. They had received the rewards from betting. Anyone who wasn't an idiot would bet on Mo Shu winning this match, so the audience was extremely excited. The entire arena was in an uproar. The overwhelming cheers made it impossible to hear anything else. At this moment, Shui Jin's phone rang. He glanced at it before answering the call. Then, he lowered his head and said something as he walked towards the backstage. Mo Shu jumped off the stage and stopped Shui Jin. Shui Jin roared, "Mo Shu! Get out of my way. I'll settle your matter later." The 4 or 5 people beside Shui Jin stood in front of Mo Shu, protecting him as he left. Mo Shu raised his right hand to his head. Shui Jin was somewhat puzzled as he held the phone. What was he doing? He looked like he was greeting someone. The next moment, something unexpected happened. A flying knife dagger out of thin air behind Shui Jin. As it spun, the back of the dagger hit the phone. Shui Jin was caught off guard and the phone was sent flying. Then, the phone flew through the air in a perfect arc before landing in Mo Shu's hand. Mo Shu placed the phone to his ear and heard a voice coming from it. Hey, what happened? You have to make up for today's loss." Mo Shu replied, "I can make up for it, but I found you." Just as Shui Jin was about to order his men to snatch the phone back, another flying dagger appeared in the air and blocked their escape route. Mo Shu took the opportunity to slip away. The one who threw the flying dagger to cover Mo Shu was naturally Mu Qingyi. Mu Qingyi had always been in the arena. In fact, Mu Qingyi was present in every match that Mo Shu appeared in. It was also Mu Qingyi who had used her skill to snatch Shui Jin's phone. The mission Mo Shu had assigned Mu Qingyi at the start was to enter the competition grounds to provide Mo Shu with support. Thus, the person who had been closest to Mo Shu all this time was Mu Qingyi. Mu Qingyi was unable to infiltrate the enemy, but her identity and background allowed her to enter the arena without being suspected. Her parents had made all of her arrangements for her since she was young and had no freedom. Now that the college entrance examination was over, she finally obtained a short period of freedom. It was not hard to understand why she had come here to find some excitement. There were many people who had the same situation as Mu Qingyi, so it would not attract Shui Jin's attention. Shui Jin roared, "Capture him quickly." At this moment, there was a commotion outside the crowd. Gradually, the entire place became quiet. Everyone realized that a battle was happening outside. The battle did not last long. A group of people walked in from outside. After seeing the clothes of these people, the entire place became silent. The people who came were actually from the army. Why would they alert the army? The leader pointed at Shui Jin and grabbed him. Although Shui Jin was still unclear of the situation, he immediately activated his 4 skills to accelerate and run outside. 5 minutes later, Shui Jin was pushed back into the arena. No one could leave because the entire rooftop was under the military's control. "Shui Jin, I'm Yi Qingfeng from the military. Cooperate with the law enforcement team to capture you." Shui Jin sneered. "I'm just here to watch a competition. If you want to capture me, so be it." Yi Qingfeng took out a name list and held it up for everyone to see. When Shui Jin saw the name list, he knew that he was finished. Yi Qingfeng shouted, "This is the name list of all the people who are here today. We know your real identities. Whoever can give evidence of the person in charge can leave." Everyone shouted, "It's him, Shui Jin. That's right, it's him." Yi Qingfeng said, "Did you hear that? Shui Jin, I now have a lot of evidence to prove that you are the person in charge here. Do you have anything else to say?" Shui Jin lowered his head and said no more. Yi Qingfeng continued, "Tell me, who is your boss?" "Who is my boss? I'm the boss. You've already investigated clearly. Why are you still asking who the boss is?" Yi Qingfeng wasn't in a hurry. He found a chair and sat down. "Mr. Mo, let's begin the performance." At this moment, Mo Shu and Mu Qingyi walked out from the crowd. When Shui Jin saw Mo Shu appear at this moment, he immediately understood and cursed. "Mo Shu, you bastard. I always thought that you were just a young man who was overly arrogant. I didn't expect you to be so shrewd." Mo Shu shook his head and said, "My performance wasn't perfect. You were too confident. Tell me, who is the boss behind this? Who was the person who called you?" Shui Jin replied, "He's just a big client. Who can order me around?" Mo Shu smiled happily, very happily. "Ha ha ha, is that so? I already know that your real source of profit isn't the revenue from the bets, but from informing your boss behind the scenes of the outcome. Then, Your boss will place a bet on the winning side, and you will reap the profits. Shui Jin stared straight at Mo Shu as though he wanted to eat him. Mo Shu continued, there are two benefits to this kind of profit source. Firstly, even if the law enforcement team comes to raid the arena, you won't lose too much. Secondly, you can hide the boss behind the scenes. Shui Jin looked at Mo Shu with lifeless eyes. He no longer had the mood to ask Mo Shu how he knew, because he knew that he was finished. In fact, Mo Shu had discovered a clue after the First King's War. When Shui Jin gave him his rewards, Shui Jin saw that his total income was 3 million yuan, yet Shui Jin had given him more than half of his income. Later on, Mo Shu always calculated the time and went to look for Shui Jin when Shui Jin and Zhang Saiyuan were settling accounts. After a while, he finally confirmed that he had not seen things. The income they received from the arena was not high. The arena could not afford to lose money, so there must be other ways to earn money. They could only participate in gambling. After knowing the gambling method of the arena, Mo Shu could finally confirm that if there was someone behind Shui Jin, then there was a high chance that he would personally come to the arena to watch the matches and bets. Even if that person did not come himself, he would send someone he absolutely trusted. Thus, today, Mo Shu had intentionally not followed the script during the battle, just to see how Shui Jin and the mysterious boss behind him would react. Shui Jin had planned this battle for a very long time and attached great importance to it. Thus, he would definitely invest a large amount of money. If there was a change in the outcome of the competition, then regardless of whether it was Shui Jin or the boss behind him who had placed the bets, they would definitely suffer a huge loss. At that time, they would definitely be furious. When the competition ended, Shui Jin immediately received a call. Mo Shu could already confirm that this boss behind the scenes definitely existed. Furthermore, judging from the speed of the call, this person should be present. Mo Shu continued, I've got your phone now and reported the phone number to the law enforcement team. The law enforcement team has already found out that the owner of this phone number is here. Would you like to identify that person yourself, or would you like to trouble Captain Yi Qingfeng to find them? Shui Jin's face was ashen as he said, so what if you found who the person on the phone was? How can you be sure that the person who came is the mastermind? Mo Shu pulled Mu Qingyi aside to make way. Then, Lu Ziyang and Yu Yuan brought someone over. That person was Shui Jin's accountant, Zhang Saiyuan. 20 minutes ago, Mo Shu's match had just begun. After Lu Ziyang and Yu Yuan entered the Sky Treasure Hotel, they quickly found the room number that Mo Shu had informed them of. The person living in this room was Shui Jin's accountant, Zhang Saiyuan. Mo Shu had only obtained the room number today. At that time, Mo Shu had been walking around in the corridor. Shui Jin only felt that Mo Shu's emotions were not very stable after obtaining the script. Lu Ziyang looked at Yu Yuan inquiringly. Was this the place? Yu Yuan nodded. Lu Ziyang took out his dagger and nodded at Yu Yuan. Then, Yu Yuan punched Lu Ziyang, and Lu Ziyang disappeared. When he reappeared, he was already behind the door. He used the teleportation effect of his afterimage skill to sneak in. This method was thought of by Yu Yuan. When Lu Ziyang heard this method, he slapped his thigh and said that Yu Yuan was a talent. Lu Ziyang, who entered the room, saw a person standing with his back facing the door. It looked like a bodyguard. Lu Ziyang didn't hesitate. He used the critical hit effect after the afterimage was activated and directly killed his opponent with a dagger. Then, he gently placed this person on the ground. He silently chanted, Amitabha, Amitabha. After opening the door, he sneaked in with Yu Yuan and found Zhang Saiyuan looking at the computer seriously inside the room. Lu Ziyang wanted to go up and grab Zhang Saiyuan but was stopped by Yu Yuan. 2 seconds later, 3 beams of light appeared beneath Zhang Saiyuan's feet. Zhang Saiyuan's reaction couldn't be slow. He immediately pressed on the keyboard, wanting to destroy the data, but he was still a little slow and was frozen by Yu Yuan's 3-layered wood array. Then, Yu Yuan and Lu Ziyang quickly controlled Zhang Saiyuan. According to Mo Shu's request, they found the account that had betted the largest amount through the back-end software. Lu Ziyang and Yu Yuan were both people who had seen the world. However, when they saw the betting amount, they were still stunned. It was 1 billion yuan, a whole 1 billion. Who could have such wealth? The two of them worked hard for a while before they found the name and bank account number associated with this account in the back-end software. The bank account belonged to Wang Chang. However, the two of them did not care as they knew that the name was definitely fake. The most important thing was the bank account number. Then, they tied Zhang Saiyuan up and rushed to the rooftop. On the rooftop, Lu Ziyang and Yu Yuan had just brought Zhang Saiyuan out. Before Shui Jin could speak, a loud noise came from the stands. Boom! A huge fireball appeared out of nowhere in the stands, creating a disturbance. Mo Shu had not expected such a situation. The person behind the scenes might take the opportunity to escape. On the other hand, Yi Qingfeng laughed. Ha 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 ha, if I wasn't here today, you might have gotten your way, but you can't run today. As soon as he finished speaking, Yi Qingfeng ran towards the spectator stands at an extremely fast speed. A second later, a person was thrown out of the stands and into the arena. One of Yi Qingfeng's skills was lock, which allowed him to lock onto his target. This person stood up and wanted to continue running, but he was controlled by Yi Qingfeng's subordinates. This person was wearing a mask as he glared at Mo Shu. Mo Shu chuckled and removed the person's mask. The moment his face was revealed, everyone was shocked. Many people knew this person, and it could even be said that he had a great reputation in Shun City. He was the youngest son of the Shun City Lord, Shu Chu. It was hard to imagine that the person behind the scenes had such a powerful background. Shu Chu was the top scholar of last year's college entrance examination. Due to his outstanding results and the fact that he was the city lord's youngest son, the news was all over the place at that time. It could be said that he was a household name. At that moment, Yi Qingfeng walked back and was shocked when he saw that it was Chu Chu. Chu Chu. It's you? Why are you doing this? Chu Chu and Yi Qingfeng obviously knew each other. Chu Chu lowered his head and did not speak. Yi Qingfeng continued, I was originally cooperating with the law enforcement team and the shadows to carry out a mission to capture someone. I didn't expect to catch you. No matter what, I still have to hand you over to the law enforcement team to handle. As for the specific judgment, ask the city lord. Yi Qingfeng lamented Chu Chu's actions. He did not expect the son of the city lord to do such a thing. Meanwhile, Mo Shu had originally thought that the matter would be more complicated. Even with evidence, if Chu Chu had been hiding in the crowd, they would have needed a long time to investigate the situation. He didn't expect Chu Chu to jump out himself. This saved him a lot of trouble. After Mo Shu handed all the evidence and Zhang Saiyuan to the enforcement team, the matter was considered to have come to an end. At this moment, Chu Chu was handed over to the law enforcement team. When he walked past Mo Shu, he spoke for the first time. Chu Chu had already calmed down. He stared at Mo Shu and smiled. Mo Shu, I've lost to you once. Chu Chu's words made Mo Shu very uncomfortable. What did he mean by that? Could it be that he would still have the chance to take revenge after committing such a huge crime? That was impossible. Under the current law, it was impossible even for the son of the city lord to escape the law. Afterwards, Shui Jin was also escorted over. Seeing that Mo Shu did not speak, he only sighed softly. The army cooperated with the law enforcement team and investigated everyone. All the relevant staff members in the arena were arrested. At this moment, Mo Shu saw two familiar faces, Boss Fang and his subordinates. Boss Fang's subordinate shouted at him, FCKU, didn't you say that there was nothing wrong with Mo Shu? You even said that I'm not good at reading people, while you're good at it. Look how good you are. You even managed to get a top spy in. Boss Fang said unhappily, mind your status. I'm your boss after all. The subordinate spat a mouthful of phlegm on Boss Fang's face and said, we're FC King going to jail. The company is gone. Why are you still acting like a boss? After that, the two of them broke free from the control of the law enforcement team and started fighting. Mo Shu didn't know whether to laugh or cry. The rest of the audience had been released. Of course, they wouldn't let them go just like that. Everyone's real name was recorded by the law enforcement team now. Furthermore, those who could come here were all children from rich or powerful families. They could just look for them later. The law enforcement team and Mo Shu had a handover. As they had just solved a major case and had to investigate the spies, they could only go back and deal with it. The crowd dispersed, but Yi Qingfeng stayed behind. Yi Qingfeng sized up Mo Shu with interest, making Mo Shu feel uncomfortable. Mo Shu said, "Captain Yi, what's the matter? Don't look at me like that." Yi Qingfeng smiled embarrassedly and said, "It's nothing. I was just thinking if it's possible to poach you into our army." Mo Shu smiled awkwardly. Yi Qingfeng sighed and said, "Sigh, it's a pity that you're not under me. You performed very well this time. No, you can be said to be too outstanding. If I were you, I might not even be as good as you." Mo Shu said respectfully, "Captain Yi is too humble. With your ability, you will definitely do better than me. I'm talking about acting. Your acting skills are better than mine." Yi Qingfeng looked at Mo Shu and the others. Then, he continued, "All of you, please take my contact details. If you need anything, you can look for me directly. You don't have to look for me through the law enforcement team anymore. If you need any help, I will definitely help." Mo Shu cupped his fists and said, "Thank you, Captain Yi." Then, Yi Qingfeng waved his hand and left. Lu Ziyang was the first to step forward and say, "Boss, you're too awesome. How did you come up with this plan?" Yu Yuan and Mu Qingyi also looked at Mo Shu questioningly. "It's nothing much. The plan was simple. We just needed to analyze the truth. Besides, that's not what you should be praising." The three of them asked in unison, "Then what should we be praising you for?" Just as Captain Yi said, "My acting skills are better. You can call me Movie King Mo in the future." "You can call me Movie King Mo from now on." The serious topic was instantly diverted by Mo Shu. The three of them stared coldly at Mo Shu. Mo Shu smiled and said, "All right. The mission's over. Let's divide the spoils." At the mention of dividing the spoils, the few of them became excited. Although other than Mo Shu, the other three didn't lack money. However, this was their first mission, and also their first time earning money. Thus, they were somewhat excited. Mo Shu took out his phone and opened the shadow software to find the mission. He realized that the mission had become a grade B mission. There was another explanation below. There was a system error in the assessment of the mission difficulty. The current level of the mission has increased from grade C to grade B. The point rewards have increased from 2,000 points to 8,000 points, and the cash reward has increased from 800,000 yuan to 4 million yuan. Lu Ziyang shouted, "FCK, that's a huge increase. That's amazing." Yu Yuan rubbed his chin and said, "This reward is quite fair." When accepting the mission, Mo Shu was the team leader, so all the rewards were sent to Mo Shu's account. Mo Shu split the rewards evenly into 4 portions. Thus, each person received 2,000 points and 1 million yuan. At this moment, Mu Qingyi said, "Mo Shu, this mission was almost completed by you alone. It's not good for us to take so much, right?" Yu Yuan added, "That's right. We've helped too little. You've always been the one in danger and fighting with the enemy. We can't take so much." In the end, Lu Ziyang also chimed in. "That's right, boss. I don't need any rewards this time. I'll just treat it as learning from you." Mo Shu glared at Lu Ziyang and said, "Then what did you learn? If you didn't learn anything, just keep the rewards." "All right, I'm the team leader. This matter is up to me. If you guys aren't satisfied, you can be the team leader next time." After Mo Shu finished speaking, Mu Qingyi and the others did not decline and could only accept the rewards. Mo Shu continued, "I originally wanted to take on a few more missions, but I didn't expect this mission to take 10 days. There are only 5 days left before I leave school. It seems like I can't take on any other missions." Lu Ziyang and Yu Yuan both looked regretful. This was because both of them felt that working with Mo Shu was very comfortable and they could indeed learn some things. Mu Qingyi said a little sadly, "Oh, let's leave it at that. My journey is quite far, so I might have to leave for school in a few days." Mo Shu sighed. "Sigh, are you leaving already?" "Yes, I'm leaving." Lu Ziyang and Yu Yuan looked at each other and realized that the atmosphere wasn't right. They wanted to slip away. Right at this time, Mu Qingyi seemed to have intentionally changed the topic, her eyes widening as she said, "I almost forgot something." Mo Shu and the other two looked towards Mu Qingyi. Mu Qingyi took out a bank card and handed it to Mo Shu. "All the money won from gambling is here." Mo Shu had indeed given Mu Qingyi another mission previously, which was to bet all the money he earned from boxing on his victory. Then, she would take those winnings and bet on his victory again. Although she did not know how much money there was in the card, It was definitely not a small amount. Mo Shu smiled and took it. Then, he said to the three of them, "We'll take this money." The three of them moved in unison and shook their heads vigorously. Mo Shu actually wanted to say, "Let's split the money." However, looking at the three of them, it was unlikely that they would accept it. The three of them knew that they had already taken advantage of Mo Shu for the mission reward. Furthermore, this money had nothing to do with them. The few of them chatted for a while before heading downstairs. Lu Ziyang and Yu Yuan were very sensible. As soon as they went downstairs, they found an excuse to leave. Mo Shu asked, "Where's your house? I'll send you back." Mu Qingyi nodded and said, "Sure, my house is in the villa district in the east of the city." The villa area in the east of the city was very far from here. Mo Shu asked, "Do you want to take a taxi back? Or do you want someone to pick you up?" Mu Qingyi revealed a brilliant smile and said, "Let's take a walk." After saying those words, Mo Shu continued walking forward. After standing there in a daze for a second, he shook his head, smiled, and gave chase. "Mo Shu, I didn't have a childhood. Can you tell me about your childhood?" Mo Shu thought about it and said, "Based on what I can remember, I would run in the park in the morning, read books in the library in the afternoon, and practice boxing at night. When I started going to school, I would attend classes in the morning and practice boxing at night." Mu Qingyi looked at Mo Shu as if she was looking at a monster and asked, "Why was your life so hard?" "From a young age, my mother took great pains to take care of me. At that time, my mother had no job. I could tell that she was very tired, but she always smiled at me. At that time, I swore that I would become a man to take care of my mother." Mu Qingyi's gaze towards Mo Shu changed and became gentle. She did not know what to say for a moment. Mo Shu didn't say anything either. The two of them walked quietly like this, as if they had returned to the stone at the cosmic tuition class. "Let me tell you about my childhood." A sudden sentence broke the silence. The two of them looked at each other and laughed. "Ha ha ha, didn't you say that you didn't have a childhood?" Mu Qingyi covered her mouth and laughed lightly. "I feel that I had more of a childhood compared to you." "All right then, tell me about it. I've seen other people jumping rope when I was young. Have you played it before?" Mo Shu shook his head and said, "What is that?" Mu Qingyi's eyes shifted mischievously as she said, "It involves a witch using an incantation to activate a rubber band." Mo Shu asked in confusion, "A witch? An incantation? What's that?" "Oh my, you're so stupid. When a witch uses an incantation, the rubber band will move on its own." "An incantation? Are you talking about a skill?" "No, it's not like that. I remember the incantation goes something like this. The Malin flower blooms 21, 28,256, 28,257. 282,931. Mo Shu's eyes widened in disbelief. "Really? Ha 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 ha, ha 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 ha, ha 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 ha." Mu Qingyi laughed until she was swaying back and forth. When Mo Shu saw Mu Qingyi laughing like this, he immediately understood that Mu Qingyi was lying to him. Mo Shu looked at Mu Qingyi with a straight face and said, "To think that I, Movie King Mo, trusted you so much. You actually teased me." When Mu Qingyi heard Mo Shu's words, she laughed even more happily. She held her stomach as she squatted on the ground, almost bursting into tears. Mo Shu asked, "Is it that funny?" Mu Qingyi said, "Yes, I've never been so happy before. Perhaps I've never been so relaxed before." Mo Shu pretended to be innocent and said, "All right, since you're so happy teasing me, I'll let you tease me every day from now on." Mu Qingyi stood up and walked a few steps forward. She turned around and said, "Who wants to tease you? How shameless." Mo Shu chased after her and shrugged. "What if I tease you?" Mu Qingyi stuck out her tongue and said, "That won't do either." The two of them continued to walk forward. Mu Qingyi suddenly said, "Mo Shu, if only we could continue walking and not go home." "Yes. I'll walk with you." The two of them walked from dawn to sunrise, from sunrise to late in the morning, and finally reached Mu Qingyi's house. The two didn't say goodbye when they parted, because they both knew that they would definitely meet again. That night, Mo Shu took the longest walk of his life. That night, Mo Shu said the most words in his life. Mo Shu didn't go home immediately. He sent a message to his mother and told her that he would return tonight. After that, Mo Shu checked the balance in his bank card. The total amount in his card was 15,322,443 yuan. Mo Shu leaned closer to the screen and carefully counted the amount. Damn, there's over 15 million yuan. With so much money, Mo Shu could no longer remain calm. After some thought, he gave Zheng Yi a call. Hello, Mo Shu. Why haven't you been picking up my calls these few days? I was busy with something these few days. It wasn't convenient for me to call. What's the matter? I knew you had taken Mu Qingyi down. You two went to have some alone time, right? How awesome. Stop talking nonsense. Are you free now? Come out for a while. I'm free. What do you want to do? Come and fetch me. I have something to ask you. I'm at. Mo Shu hung up the call. He had nothing to do while waiting for Zheng Yi, so he looked through his phone. When he opened the shadow software, a notification popped up. You have received 2,000 points. The points mall has opened. Mo Shu realized that there was really a points mall option beside his profile. Mo Shu felt that the points mall must be very high-end. There would definitely be some herbs inside. When he opened it, he was dumbfounded. What was this? 100 pounds of rice for 1 point. 1 pair of designer shoes for 2 points. 1 car for 100 points. 1 pig for 10 points. What the hell was this? It was practically a grocery store. There was even a pig that actually cost 10 points. Oh, sorry, pork was indeed expensive now. Just as Mo Shu was about to curse, he realized that the points mall was the same as his shopping application. It recommended popular products to him. Mo Shu couldn't help but wonder what kind of people among the shadows paid attention to such things. He found the classification search bar and took a look at what was available. This points mall was really all-encompassing. It had everything from divine-grade herbs weapons to socks and shoes. Mo Shu took a quick look and found a herb that he was more familiar with, the spirit ring. The price of 1 spirit ring was 50,000 points. It seemed that herbs were expensive no matter where they were sold. He had only received 8,000 points from a grade B mission, while a spirit ring cost 50,000 points. As he flipped through the products, a car horn sounded. Mo Shu looked up and saw that it was Zheng Yi. After Mo Shu got into the car, Zheng Yi asked, "Where have you been these past few days? You practically vanished into thin air. Why did you call me out the moment you appeared?" "I want to buy a house for my mother." "Where?" "I want to buy a house that's near your place. I hope that someone can take care of my mother." Zheng Yi thought for a while before gritting his teeth and saying, "All right, the houses near my house are a little expensive. I might not be able to afford them, but the prices of the houses in the neighborhood are still acceptable. I'll borrow money from my dad to buy them for you." "There's no need for that. I'll just buy a house in your neighborhood, preferably a house next to yours." Zheng Yi glared at him and said, "Mo Shu, you're pushing your luck. Where can I get you that much money?" Mo Shu said angrily, "Who told you to use your money to buy me a house? I'll buy the house myself. I'll visit your house later and ask your parents to take care of my mom." Zheng Yi was stunned. Mo Shu asked, "What's wrong? Is there a problem?" Zheng Yi said, "Mo Shu, the house next to mine might cost 5 million yuan. Yeah, that's no problem. That's right. I know you can't afford it, but, are you telling me that there's no problem?" Mo Shu couldn't stand Zheng Yi's nagging anymore, so he pulled Zheng Yi out of the car and looked at his balance again. When he returned to the car, Zheng Yi asked worriedly, "Mo Shu, you haven't been provided for by a rich lady over the past few days, right? Which rich lady is so rich?" Mo Shu simply couldn't take it anymore. He slammed the car door shut and said, "Cut the crap. Let's go. We'll move tomorrow after we're done here today." Zheng Yi wanted to ask more, but seeing that Mo Shu was unhappy, he could only give up. Then, he drove back to his house. Mo Shu first bought some gifts and went home with Zheng Yi. Although Zheng Yi's family background wasn't as extravagant as Mu Qingyi, Lu Ziyang, and Yu Yuan's, they were still considered extremely wealthy. Mr. Zheng worked in a security company. He had high prestige and status there. Bodyguards were considered top jobs in today's society because many people who were good at business did not have the strength to protect themselves. They could only hire bodyguards to guard themselves. Meanwhile, Mrs. Zheng was a businesswoman and had a small company. Thus, the Zheng family was quite famous in the area. Zheng Yi's parents weren't old-fashioned people. Mo Shu had come to the Zheng family's house once before and both of them had a good impression of him. Now that they knew that Mo Shu was the top scholar in the college entrance examination, they praised Mo Shu in front of Zheng Yi. After Mo Shu made some polite remarks, he explained his intentions. Mr. Zheng agreed without any hesitation. After that, he even helped Mo Shu communicate with his neighbor, who quickly agreed to sell the house to Mo Shu. After an entire afternoon of handling the procedures, this house belonged to Mo Shu. It cost 5.5 million. The neighbor had also agreed to move out the next day. The people who could live here definitely had more than just this property. On account of Mr. Zheng, as well as the fact that Mo Shu was the top scholar of the college entrance examination, the other party was very willing to give Mo Shu this favor. Before Mo Shu left, he felt a little embarrassed. Mr. Zheng was so busy with work, yet he even took the entire afternoon to help Mo Shu. Mo Shu felt a little apologetic. He had to thank the Zheng family in the future. Mo Shu had been busy the entire day and only returned home around 9 p.m. The moment he entered the house, she saw a figure and a table full of food. His mother was still the same. Mo Shu sat at the table and looked at the scattered white hair on her mother's head, feeling a little upset. His hard work over the years had paid off. He could let his mother lead a better life. However, her mother had been too tired and lonely all these years. She had been guarding such a home alone. Xiao Shu, you haven't been home for the next few days. Many admission notices have been sent home. You can go and take a look at which school you want to go to before replying to them. Her mother pointed to a bag on the sofa. After the college entrance examination ended, the various universities would send admission notices to the students who wanted to be admitted. The students would choose which school they wanted to go to. Then, they would need to send a message to the designated number on the notice. Mom, let's not talk about this for now. I bought you a house near Zheng Yi's house so that we can take care of one another. We'll move there tomorrow. By the way, you should quit your job too. Li Yuan looked at her son seriously and said, Xiao Shu, where did you get the money? Mom, I earned the money from doing missions. Don't worry, I'm doing the right thing. Missions? As long as you can walk the right path, I'm alright with anything. Mom, can we move there tomorrow? Alright? Alright? After dinner, Mo Shu returned to his room with a bag of admission notices. He spread them out on the bed and realized that there were probably more than 100 cards. Although the news of Mo Shu being the top scorer had been blocked, the universities weren't stupid. They all extended their olive branches to him. He opened one of them and took a look. The reward was 200,000 yuan. Mo Shu hadn't expected that his status as the top scholar of the college entrance examination would allow him to start earning money. However, Mo Shu wasn't interested in these things. He just wanted to see what conditions Yanjing University had offered. Mo Shu only wanted to go to the best school. No matter what the other schools offered, he wouldn't go. After flipping through for a long time, he finally found the notice from Yanjing University. There was only one reward for accepting the offer. His tuition fees would be free as he would receive a full scholarship. Mo Shu smiled. Yanjing University was indeed confident and did not give him any special privileges. He sent a message to the number on the notice. Shun City First High School, Mo Shu, 1,000 marks for the college entrance examination. The next morning, his mother went to the office to resign. Mo Shu also woke up early to pack up and move. However, when Mo Shu looked around, there didn't seem to be anything he wanted to take. It was just some old furniture. The new house was full of furniture left behind by the upper-class family. It was not a problem to move there first. If there was anything he needed to change, he could buy it later on. There was really no need to move the things at home. After tidying up, there were only some clothes and a backpack that his mother had packed yesterday. Thus, there were a total of 2 bags. When his mother returned, they each took a backpack and left. Meanwhile, Zheng Yi was ordered by Mr. Zheng to pick up Mo Shu and Li Yuan. The three of them chatted for a while before arriving at their new home. The new house was a small villa with a huge living room. There was a bathroom, a kitchen, and 2 guest rooms on the first floor. Meanwhile, there were 3 bedrooms and a study on the second floor. The decor was simple and was Mo Shu's favorite style. Li Yuan entered the spacious new house with a calm expression as usual. she was not as excited as Mo Shu had imagined. Speaking of which, Mo Shu had never seen his mother emotional before. She had always been so elegant and peaceful. Li Yuan looked around briefly and said to Mo Shu, "Son, thank you." Seeing that his mother was satisfied, Mo Shu was relieved. He sat down on the sofa and said, "Mom, I'm your son. There's no need to thank me." When Li Yuan saw Zheng Yi, who was standing at the side, she suddenly woke up and said, "Xiao Shu, why didn't you remind me? The two of us should have visited the Zheng family first. Let's go." Zheng Yi said from the side, "Auntie, my dad said that there's no need to rush over. My parents are at work today, so he asked me to accompany you. After you guys have settled down, please come over for dinner tonight." Upon hearing this, Li Yuan nodded and started packing. Mo Shu wanted to help, but his mother arranged for him to accompany Zheng Yi. Zheng Yi was also helpless. He was here to help, but now, Li Yuan had arranged for Mo Shu to accompany him. There wasn't much luggage anyway, so Mo Shu left his mother to sort it out. Then, Mo Shu and Zheng Yi sat in the living room and chatted. However, Mo Shu and Zheng Yi didn't have much free time as Li Yuan wasn't satisfied with the arrangement of some furniture. The two of them went from being treated as VIPs to being laborers. The entire morning passed. The villa Li Yuan had tidied up looked even grander. The furniture was placed naturally. Meanwhile, Zheng Yi looked at Li Yuan in confusion. She was so talented that she could design a house for others. After Li Yuan was done with her work, she said to Mo Shu, "Xiao Shu, Xiao Yi, that's about it. I took a look and saw that the furniture and decorations don't need to be touched. We can just use them. We're not unreasonable people after all. However, we still need to buy new bedding and bedroom necessities. Why don't we go out and buy some?" Zheng Yi was used to being unrestrained. He had been holding it in for the entire morning, so he immediately got up. "Auntie, no problem. We'll leave now." The three of them left in high spirits. Since it was already noon, they had a simple meal and headed straight to the shopping center. Li Yuan said hesitantly, "Little Yi, we're just buying some simple things. There's no need to come here. The things sold here are a little expensive." Zheng Yi said casually, "Auntie, Mo Shu has plenty of money now. Don't worry." Mo Shu also gave his mother a reassuring look. As soon as Li Yuan entered the mall, she started picking out the things that she needed at home. Soon, she returned with a full load. After that, Li Yuan proposed to buy some ingredients and gifts. After all, they were going to the Zheng family's house for dinner. It was their first visit, so they should get something. As soon as they started buying, another pile was formed. Mo Shu and Zheng Yi, the two laborers, were all over the place. When they were about to leave, they passed by a dress shop. Mo Shu said, "Mom, you should buy one. After all, we have to go for dinner today." Li Yuan was a little hesitant. She had already spent a lot of Mo Shu's money. She didn't want Mo Shu to spend so much money on a dress. However, when she thought about going to the Zheng family's house for a meal, she felt that it would be rude to dress too casually. In the end, she was dragged in by Mo Shu. Li Yuan did not like to show off and chose a simple black dress. The shopping trip finally came to an end. The spoils of war filled Zheng Yi's car to the brim. When Li Yuan saw this situation, she felt a little embarrassed. When they got home, the three of them packed up again. Once they were done, it was already 5 p.m. Zheng Yi said, "Auntie, my mom should be back by now. Should we go over?" Li Yuan quickly put down her work and said, "Okay, we'll go over now. Xiao Shu, take the gifts and ingredients. We'll go over to their house." The three of them arrived at the Zheng family's house. Mrs. Zheng was also a very easygoing person. The moment she met Li Yuan, she started chatting. After chatting for a while, the two of them went to the kitchen to cook. Meanwhile, Mo Shu and Zheng Yi sat on the sofa in boredom. Zheng Yi asked, "Mo Shu, are you going to Yanjing University?" "Yeah, I just texted them yesterday. How about you?" "Of course I won't let you off. I'm also going to Yanjing, but I'm not going to Yanjing University. Yanjing University's admission score this year is too scary. My results were actually not accepted." Mo Shu smiled and said, "It's fine. At least we're still in the same city." Zheng Yi nodded. Just then, Mr. Zheng returned home. Li Yuan quickly came out of the kitchen to greet him. Mr. Zheng jokingly said, "Yo, it's such a rare day today. Two hostesses are actually cooking personally. We're in for a treat." Then, Mr. Zheng took off his coat and sat on the sofa. "Mo Shu, let's upgrade today's party. Get all your friends here. We'll have a good time." Mr. Zheng had heard from Zheng Yi that Mo Shu had been working hard since he was young. He spent most of his time training and had very few friends. Hence, he got Mo Shu to bring his friends over. Mo Shu felt a little embarrassed. After all, this wasn't his home. "Uncle, I don't think that's a good idea. I can invite them another day. Let's just have a meal together today." Mr. Zheng pretended to be angry and said, "Why? Are you treating Uncle as an outsider? Hurry up and look for your friends now. We will be eating soon." Mo Shu tried to decline again, but Mr. Zheng insisted. Thus, Mo Shu could only compromise. Mo Shu picked up the phone and didn't know whether to laugh or cry. How could he have any friends? It seemed like he had failed in his life all these years. In the end, after thinking about it, Mu Qingyi should have already left by now. Lu Ziyang and Yu Yuan were the only two other people he had a good relationship with, so he should find these two. When Lu Ziyang and Yu Yuan picked up Mo Shu's call, they both accepted his offer immediately. Mo Shu returned to the sofa and said, "Uncle, Zheng Yi also knows that I don't have many friends. I only called 2 friends over today." Mr. Zheng smiled and said, "All right, there are many young people today. I'll be younger too." Not long after, Lu Ziyang came. The moment he entered, he cupped his fists and said to Mr. Zheng, "I'm Lu Ziyang, sorry for disturbing you today." Mr. Zheng didn't get angry because of Lu Ziyang's actions. Instead, he kept praising Lu Ziyang for being interesting. Lu Ziyang was also studying at Yanjing University. Thus, the conversation topic among the 3 young people was naturally related to Yanjing. At first, Mr. Zheng didn't think much of it, but the more he listened, the more shocked he became. In the end, he finally figured out Lu Ziyang's identity. He was the son of the Lu Corporation in Beijing, which was a company that had a certain amount of authority in Beijing. He was actually Mo Shu's friend. Mr. Zheng was shocked that Mo Shu could make such a friend. He even saw that Lu Ziyang kept calling Mo Shu boss. Mr. Zheng truly couldn't understand Mo Shu. However, Mr. Zheng gradually calmed down. He felt gratified that his son could make such a friend. The 3 young men were chatting enthusiastically when the door rang. Mo Shu heard someone knocking on the door. It should be Yu Yuan. He was about to open the door. However, the moment he moved, Mr. Zheng stopped him. "You guys chat, I'll open the door." Mr. Zheng stood up and opened the door. Then, he was shocked to see the person at the door. "Uncle Zheng. Young boss. Why are you here?" Yu Yuan took a few steps back and looked at the door sign. "That's right. Mo Shu said he had moved and wanted me to join in the fun. Did I walk in the wrong direction?" Mr. Zheng turned around and looked at Mo Shu. Why did this young lad who grew up in the slums have so much power? If the Lu Corporation was beyond the reach of the government, then the power behind this person could absolutely be said to be the local tyrant of Shun City. The security company that Mr. Zheng worked for was under Yu Yuan's father, Yu Long. One of the 2 people whom Mr. Zheng admired the most in his life was the city lord, Shu Kaiming, who had saved an entire city. The other person was Yu Long, who had come to Shun City alone and started from scratch to become one of the top people in Shun City within 10 years. "Uncle Zheng. Uncle Zheng. Is Mo Shu here? If not, I'll take my leave first. I'll visit again in the future." Only then did Mr. Zheng react. Then, he hurriedly said, "Yes, Mo Shu is here. Come in." Everyone was here, and the dishes were ready. Mr. Zheng, Lu Ziyang, and Yu Yuan were chatting. Meanwhile, Mo Shu and Zheng Yi helped to serve the dishes. The few of them sat down. Then, Li Yuan changed and came out. Everyone was stunned. Li Yuan's temperament was too compatible with this set of clothes. Normally, one would not be used to wearing such clothes. However, Li Yuan did not seem that way at all. She placed her hand on her abdomen and walked over slowly. It was as if Li Yuan should have been wearing such clothes all along. Mo Shu also suddenly felt that his mother shouldn't have suffered so much all these years. His mother should have led such a life. Seeing that everyone was staring at her, Li Yuan felt a little embarrassed. Thinking that everyone was waiting for her, she jogged to the dining table. Mrs. Zheng said, "Everyone, please try our cooking." Mr. Zheng first picked up a piece of chicken and put it into his mouth. After savoring it carefully, he said, "Honey, it's great. Your culinary skills haven't decreased at all. It still tastes the same." Mrs. Zheng snapped, "Mo Shu's mother made this." Mr. Zheng smiled awkwardly and picked up another vegetable dish to savor. Honey, this dish is really good." Mrs. Zheng rolled her eyes at him and said, "She made this too." Mr. Zheng couldn't hide his embarrassment anymore. Why was his wife's signature dish made by someone else? In the end, he could only say, "Ms. Li, your cooking skills are really good." Zheng Yi was secretly laughing when Mr. Zheng glared at him. Mo Shu sighed. It seemed that Zheng Yi's joker tendencies ran in the family. Everyone was talking and laughing during the meal. Mr. Zheng, Mrs. Zheng, and Li Yuan were not old-fashioned people. They chatted with the children. Finally, they talked about Li Yuan. Mrs. Zheng said, "Ms. Li, what do you plan to do in the future? We can get along well. Why don't you come to my company and be my secretary?" Mr. Zheng interrupted, "Hey, how can you let her work for you?" Mrs. Zheng didn't know Mo Shu's current identity, but Mr. Zheng knew. During this meal, Mr. Zheng understood that Lu Ziyang and Yu Yuan were sincere towards Mo Shu. Not only that, they were also respectful towards him. For example, Lu Ziyang always called Mo Shu boss. It seemed as if the two of them really treated Mo Shu as their boss. With the status and spirit of these two young masters, Mr. Zheng would never believe that they were willing to treat Mo Shu as their boss without being told by their elders to do so. Hence, Father Zheng concluded that Mo Shu had an unknown identity that even the local tyrant of Shun City, Yu Long, feared. Now, it was not about taking care of Li Yuan. He had to be more respectful to Li Yuan and not anger her. After hearing Mr. Zheng's words, Mrs. Zheng did not say anything else. Meanwhile, Zheng Yi said, "Dad, Mom, I saw today that Auntie has a very good house setup." Mr. Zheng and Mrs. Zheng both looked at Li Yuan. Li Yuan said, "I don't dare to say I'm good at it, but I do like it." Mrs. Zheng said, "I have a friend who owns a renovation company. Are you interested in becoming an interior decoration consultant?" Without waiting for Li Yuan's reply, Yu Yuan said, "Auntie, my father has a company like this under his name. It's not small. If you're willing, I can transfer the ownership of this company to you." Everyone looked at Yu Yuan in shock. This was what it meant to be rich. One word and he would give them a company. Mo Shu also looked at Yu Yuan strangely. What happened today? In reality, after the last mission, Yu Yuan had told Yu Long about Mo Shu when he returned home. When Yu Long heard that Mo Shu was related to Elder Tang, and that Mo Shu was a poor fellow, he had a good impression of Mo Shu. Li Yuan looked at Yu Yuan, then looked at Mo Shu. Then, she said, "Thank you, but I'm not capable enough. I'll train first. I think Mrs. Zheng's job offer is quite suitable for me." Yu Yuan wanted to persuade her, but Mo Shu shook his head and said, "Okay, Auntie. Mo Shu will be going to Yanjing in a few days. If you need anything, you can look for me directly." Lu Ziyang could not take it anymore. He patted Yu Yuan's chest and said, "Hey, hey, hey, that's enough. It's a little too much. You're so attentive." Zheng Yi interrupted, "Haha, I also think that old Yu is a little too much." Zheng Yi was naturally approachable. In just one meal, he got along well with Lu Ziyang. Mr. Zheng saw that his son was behaving inappropriately and scolded him. Zheng Yi. Zheng Yi rolled his eyes and lowered his head to eat without saying another word. Meanwhile, Mo Shu said to Mrs. Zheng, "Then I'll have to trouble Auntie to introduce my mother to the job." Mrs. Zheng was the boss of a small company after all. Thus, she could tell that something was wrong with the atmosphere at the dining table. "Hey, okay. Don't be so polite with me, it's not a big deal." After the meal, Mo Shu and Li Yuan left first. Meanwhile, Lu Ziyang and Yu Yuan chatted enthusiastically with Zheng Yi for a while before leaving. When Yu Yuan walked to the door, he said to Father Zheng, "Uncle Zheng, if Auntie Li Yuan needs anything, please let me know immediately." Mr. Zheng said, "All right, I understand. After the two of them left, Mr. Zheng asked Zheng Yi, "Do you know what other identities Mo Shu has?" Zheng Yi was a little confused as he shook his head. "No, isn't Mo Shu normal?" Mrs. Zheng asked, "What exactly happened? I didn't dare to speak just now." Mr. Zheng said, "Lu Ziyang is the son of the Lu Corporation." "That's right, I'm talking about the Lu Corporation in Yanjing. Meanwhile, Yu Yuan is the son of my boss. Do you understand what I mean?" Mrs. Zheng was so shocked that she could not speak. The status of these two people far exceeded her own. Meanwhile, Zheng Yi could not believe that the two people he was talking to just now had such a background. "Dad, are you sure? How could Mo Shu know them?" Seeing his father glare at him, Zheng Yi could only lower his head and say, "Damn, this is awesome. It'll be easier for him to survive in Yanjing." Mr. Zheng looked at his unstable son and asked seriously, "Zheng Yi, tell me honestly, how close are you to Mo Shu?" Zheng Yi thought about it and said, "It's hard to say how close we are. Let's put it this way. We share a life and death relationship." For the next 2 days, Mo Shu was very relaxed. He accompanied his mother everywhere and felt very comfortable. Mo Shu might not be back for a long time after going to Yanjing, so he wanted to spend more time with his mother. Today was the 14th day of his holiday. Mo Shu would be leaving for Yanjing tomorrow, so he was watching his mother pack his luggage. At this moment, there was a knock on the door. When Mo Shu opened the door, he saw that it was Zheng Yi. Before Zheng Yi could speak, Mo Shu had already closed the door. Zheng Yi shouted from outside, "Hey, Mo Shu. I have something to talk to you about." Mo Shu replied, "Didn't I tell you not to look for me these few days?" Zheng Yi knocked a few more times and said, "Quick, open the door. I have an appointment with Yi Qiner and Lu Qingyu today." Only then did Mo Shu remember that he had always wanted to treat the two of them to a meal, but he had never had the time to do so. After Mo Shu opened the door, Zheng Yi came in and ran to the sofa to complain to Li Yuan. "Auntie, tell me about Mo Shu. He only has a few friends. Is he trying to lose another one by locking me outside?" Li Yuan knew about the relationship between Mo Shu and Zheng Yi. Thus, she definitely knew that he was joking. She pretended to be angry and said to Mo Shu, "Xiao Shu, how could you do this to Zheng Yi? Quickly go and meet your classmates." Zheng Yi looked at Mo Shu smugly. Meanwhile, Mo Shu looked at his mother. He probably wouldn't be able to accompany his mother today. Thus, Mo Shu tidied up briefly before following Zheng Yi out. After getting into the car, Mo Shu asked, "Why did you invite them to a meal today?" Zheng Yi said sarcastically, "Hey, how do we have to cheat to ask a busy bee like you out? How do you have the time? You disappeared for 10 days the moment you went on vacation and then came back to move. If I didn't forcefully drag you out today, wouldn't you still be busy?" Mo Shu knew that he was in the wrong and could only change the topic. "Where are we going to eat today?" At the mention of this topic, Zheng Yi proudly took out a card and handed it to Mo Shu. "Isn't this the diamond membership card of the Soaring Dragon Hotel?" Mo Shu was shocked. The Soaring Dragon Hotel was the most luxurious hotel in the city. If Mr. Zheng had this card, Mo Shu would believe it. However, how could Zheng Yi have this card? It was impossible. "Zheng Yi, did you steal your dad's card?" When Zheng Yi heard this, he acted arrogantly. "This is my card. Yesterday, I sent a message to ask if Yu Yuan had any good restaurants to recommend. He simply gave me this." Mo Shu smiled and said, "I didn't expect you to be in contact with Yu Yuan. Did your father instruct you to interact more with Yu Yuan?" Having been seen through, Zheng Yi said unhappily, "It's none of your business. However, my dad's membership card is only a platinum card. When I brought this card back yesterday, my dad's shameless expression made me laugh." Mo Shu sighed. Zheng Yi was really shameless. He even teased his own father. They sped all the way to the Soaring Dragon Hotel. Lu Qingyu was already waiting there. Mo Shu and Zheng Yi alighted from the car and immediately went forward to welcome him. Mo Shu was the first to speak. "Brother Lu, you're early. Sorry to keep you waiting. Let's hurry up and go in." Lu Qingyu was still as graceful and courteous as ever. Cupping his hands, he said, What are you saying? I also just arrived." The three of them walked into the hotel lobby. As soon as they entered, they saw golden lights everywhere. Unlike the main hall of other restaurants, this place only had a receptionist, a spacious hall, and rows of sofas. The Soaring Dragon Hotel did not have a bar for guests. Instead, the lobby was specially used to receive guests. As they had a membership system, it only received members. Zheng Yi went to talk to the front desk while Mo Shu and Lu Qingyu sat on the sofa and chatted. Mo Shu said, "Brother Lu, thank you for helping me during my absence." Lu Qingyu waved his hand and said, "It's nothing. The three of us are old acquaintances. If we can help, of course we have to help." Before Mo Shu could reply, Zheng Yi had already returned. Mo Shu asked, "Are you done?" "No problem. We got the best room. Shall we go up first?" Mo Shu looked at the entrance. Yi Qiner had not arrived yet. Zheng Yi immediately understood and said to Lu Qingyu, "Qingyu, let's go up first and have Mo Shu stay behind to wait for Yi Qiner." "All right, you guys go up first. I'll stay and wait." At this moment, Yi Qiner hurriedly ran into the main hall, holding her knees as she panted heavily. She lifted her head and saw Mo Shu. She jogged over to Mo Shu, but when she stood in front of Mo Shu, he didn't know what to say. She bowed and said, "Senior Mo, I'm sorry I'm late." Mo Shu quickly stood up and helped Yi Qiner up. "Ha ha ha, what are you doing? I'm treating you to a meal today. Why are you apologizing?" Yi Qiner stood up straight, not knowing what to say. Mo Shu smiled and said, "Let's go. Follow me." Yi Qiner followed behind Mo Shu and pouted. She had embarrassed herself again. On the 8th floor, in a lively and elegant room. Just as Zheng Yi had said, this was the best room. Not only did it have a dining table, it also had a bedroom, a lounge, and even a swimming pool. It was a simple villa. Before they entered the room, the dishes had already been served. The table was full of dishes, but Mo Shu couldn't even name any of them. The few of them were currently chatting enthusiastically. Mo Shu and Zheng Yi once again thanked Lu Qingyu and Yi Qiner. To be able to help at the most difficult time, they truly valued the friendship among them. Zheng Yi asked, "Qingyu, which school are you going to? Your grades should be enough for Yanjing University, right?" Lu Qingyu smiled. "Yes, my score is high enough, but I don't like Yanjing. I'm going to Wu Country instead." Mo Shu was a little surprised that someone could get into Yanjing University, yet did not go there. "Brother Lu, why is that so? Is there anything wrong with Yanjing?" Lu Qingyu shook his head and said, "It's not that Yanjing is bad. It's just that I don't want to go because of some personal reasons." Seeing that Lu Qingyu was unwilling to speak, Mo Shu did not probe further. Seeing that Yi Qiner was still a little reserved, Mo Shu asked, "Yi Qiner, you're already in your 3rd year of high school when the school year starts again. Which university are you planning to enroll in next?" Zheng Yi teased, "That's right. Sister Qiner, where are you going to apply? Are you going to Yanjing to look for Mo Shu?" Mo Shu had wanted Yi Qiner to relax, but after hearing Zheng Yi's words, he felt even more uneasy. Meanwhile, Yi Qiner looked at Mo Shu and quickly lowered her head again. Mo Shu glared at Zheng Yi. He truly caused trouble all day. At this moment, Yi Qiner's phone rang. She took it out and hung up after taking a look. Mo Shu asked, "What's wrong? Who called you?" "It's okay, just pick it up." Yi Qiner shook her head and whispered, "It's nothing. It's just an unimportant phone call." Before Yi Qiner could finish her sentence, another call came in. Seeing that Yi Qiner seemed a little unhappy, Mo Shu said, "It's okay, you can pick up the call." Yi Qiner nodded and went to the side to answer the call. The meal ended very quickly. The 4 of them walked out of the restaurant and prepared to part ways. Yi Qiner lowered her head with a flushed face, not daring to speak to Mo Shu until they separated. After everyone left, she clenched her fists and muttered to herself, "Yi Qiner, you're so useless. You didn't even bid Senior Mo farewell properly." Since they were leaving Shun City tomorrow, everyone went home to make preparations. Mo Shu had just reached home when his phone rang. He took it out and saw that it was Yu Yuan. "Hello, Mo Shu. I just arrived at the Soaring Dragon Hotel. Why did you leave?" "If there's nothing, you can just leave. Thank you." "Hey, why are you thanking me?" "Alright then, go on with your work. Let's keep in touch in the future." Mo Shu didn't expect Yu Yuan to personally make a trip there. They got off the train and left the station. Mo Shu stood outside Yanjing Station and looked at the city. He could only see the surrounding buildings. He could only see a corner of this city. However, this was the first time Mo Shu had come to another city, to a place he was completely unfamiliar with. This was a new beginning. Who knew what would happen in the future? Lu Ziyang patted Mo Shu and pulled Mo Shu back from his emotional state. "Boss, we've reached Yanjing. Come to my house first." Mo Shu thought for a while and said, "I think I'll go to school first. I'll definitely visit your house in Yanjing, but I haven't settled down yet, it's a little abrupt." Lu Ziyang nodded and said, "Boss, you think too much. Anyway, I've been away for so long. No matter what, I have to go home first." Mo Shu and Zheng Yi wanted to part ways with Lu Ziyang, but they didn't expect 3 cars to drive over as soon as the 3 of them arrived at the roadside. Lu Ziyang smiled and said, "Boss, Zheng Yi, I've already made arrangements. I'm going home. Boss will go straight to Yanjing University. Zheng Yi, you go to school too. Each of you will get a car." Zheng Yi did not hold back and got into the car. After he got into the car, he stuck his head out and said, "I didn't expect to receive such treatment as well. I'm leaving first. I'll contact you again after school starts tomorrow." After saying that, he told the driver to drive off. Meanwhile, Lu Ziyang said to Mo Shu, "Boss, I'm going home to see my dad first. I'll go to school to look for you later." "Good. I'll check out the school first. I'll see you later." Mo Shu got into the car and said to the driver, "Let's go to Yanjing University." The driver was a young man in his 20s, he looked very smart. "All right, boss, let me introduce myself. My name is Zhang Chang. You can call me Chang Zi." Mo Shu asked curiously, "Why are you calling me boss?" Chang Zi started the car and looked at the rearview mirror. "I asked young Master Lu. He said to call you boss." Lu Ziyang, "Let's set off. How long will it take to get there?" Chang Zi touched the steering wheel with both hands. A sense of confidence arose in him. 10 minutes. Sit tight. 10 minutes. Mo Shu was a little puzzled. He had checked the route before coming here. It would take at least 30 minutes from the train station to Yanjing University. Could it be that they were flying over in 10 minutes? However, as soon as the car started, Mo Shu understood. Although the car wasn't flying, it was close. Chang Zi drove too quickly and was very agile. There were some traffic jams in Yanjing at this time, but Chang Zi could always find a gap to pass through. Thus, this journey was smooth. 10 minutes later. The journey really took exactly 10 minutes. They arrived at the entrance of Yanjing University. Chang Zi was not only fast, but he was also very stable. Mo Shu did not feel uncomfortable at such a fast speed. This was not something a normal person could do. Out of curiosity, Mo Shu activated God's Eye on Chang Zi. First skill. Driving. Skill effect. When driving a car, all spiritual attributes of the user will be increased by 50%, and driving skills will be significantly improved. Duration. 4 hours. Cooldown. 1 hour. Second skill. Mastery. Skill. The user will master the use of all transportation tools and equipment. The user's learning ability will also increase by 50%. Duration. 1 hour. Cooldown. 3 hours. Third skill. Agility. Skill effect. Increases the user's reaction speed by 50%. Duration. 15 minutes. Cooldown. 3 hours. After seeing Chang Zi's skills, Mo Shu sighed. It seemed like the heavens wanted him to drive. This was too crazy. Chang Zi got off the car with Mo Shu. Mo Shu signaled Chang Zi to go back. However, Chang Zi continued to follow Mo Shu. Mo Shu asked, "You don't have to follow me. You can go back first." Chang Zi said, "Boss, I live here. You live here? Are you a student here too?" Chang Zi said proudly, "Yeah, I'm already in my 3rd year of university. I'm a support major and work part-time in the Lu Corporation." Mo Shu understood. It seemed as if Lu Ziyang had arranged this on purpose. "Since you're a student here, it'll be easy. Bring me around." Normally, school would start tomorrow, but most students coming from other cities would choose to report a day earlier. This was the case for Mo Shu. There were too many people at the reporting area, so Mo Shu wasn't in a hurry. Instead, he let Chang Zi bring him around and familiarize himself with the environment. Slowly, Mo Shu began to regret his decision. Yanjing University was really too big. It took them more than 2 hours to walk around it. The school was divided into 3 large areas, namely the dormitory area, the martial arts area, and the office area. After Chang Zi's introduction, Mo Shu roughly understood the composition of Yanjing University. There was nothing to say about the dormitory area. Students and teachers lived in one area. Students lived in 10 of the buildings, while the teachers lived in one building that had a huge cafeteria. The martial arts area was the largest area. There were a total of 15 martial arts arenas, each with different uses. In comparison, there were only 10 dormitories, which showed how much Yanjing University valued combat ability. Lastly, the office area was made up of 5 buildings in total. One of them was a teaching building that was used for theory classes. According to Chang Zi, there were only 1 theory class per week, so there was only 1 building for such classes. The remaining 4 buildings in the office area were reserved for the student union and the clubs. Every student organization could apply for room for official uses. When they returned to the reporting area, there were still many people there. Chang Zi had left because he had something to do. Thus, Mo Shu could only wait in line obediently. Perhaps it was because the queue was too long and everyone was bored from waiting. The person in front of Mo Shu went to talk to Mo Shu. "Hey, bro, which department are you going to enroll in? Since we're queuing up together, if we enroll in the same department, we might be in the same dormitory." Mo Shu asked curiously, "Doesn't the school automatically allocate our majors?" Upon hearing that Mo Shu didn't know about this, the man turned around and said, "Let me introduce myself, Hao Ren." "Oh, you're a good person. I'm Mo Shu." Hao Ren smiled and said, "That's right. Not only am I called Hao Ren, but I'm also a good person. You don't even know how to choose a major, so you must not have done your homework. Yanjing University is different from other universities. You can choose which department you want to go to." Mo Shu really didn't have time to prepare for university during this holiday. What if someone chooses blindly? Hao Ren's interest was piqued. If you want to choose blindly, no one will stop you. Some rich second-generation heirs choose majors with more girls. Mo Shu humbly asked, "In that case, may I know what majors there are?" Hao Ren held his hands in front of his chest and gestured as he said, "Yanjing University is different from other universities. Yanjing University is divided into 5 major departments." With that, Hao Ren held out 5 fingers and kept Mo Shu in suspense. Mo Shu cooperatively asked, "What are the 5 major departments?" Hao Ren gestured with his right hand and continued, "They're the assault, agility, magic, support and esper departments respectively. After you choose one of the 5 major departments, you will be immediately assigned to different classes. Take the support department for example. One class can have students with investigative and healing skills." After Hao Ren's explanation, Mo Shu had more or less understood the major departments in Yanjing University. The 5 major departments coincided with Wang Yu's physique limit theory. The assault department would be chosen by those who had a warrior physique, while the agility department would be chosen by those with an assassin physique. Meanwhile, students with a mage physique would choose the magic department. The support department would comprise of students with investigative, medical, and some other special physiques. As for the esper department, it should house those with skills like Yu Yuan's 5 elements formation, as well as some special physiques. Seeing Mo Shu in deep thought, Hao Ren asked, "Mo Shu, which department are you going to choose?" Moxio was stunned for a moment before saying, "Power attack type. The other types might not be suitable for me." "Great," Hao Ren said excitedly. "I'll choose the power attack system too. Maybe we can share the same dormitory." Hao Ren was indeed a good person. He explained the entire process of queuing to Moxio, and Moxio was very grateful to him. In the end, they exchanged contact information. Finally, it was Mo Shu's turn. The registration area was in a very large classroom with 5 teachers sitting inside. Mo Shu entered the classroom and sat in front of a free teacher. The teacher's gaze was fixed on the computer screen in front of her. She did not look up at Mo Shu. It seemed that she was a little tired after a day of work. Name: Mo Shu. When the teacher heard Mo Shu's name, he raised his head and looked at Mo Shu. "You are Mo Shu?" Mo Shu politely replied, "Yes, teacher." "Iya. I looked at the college entrance examination results. You're very suitable to enter the power attack department." "I'll consider it," said Moxio. "What's there to consider? With your skills, which element can you enter if not the power attack system?" Mo Shu had a confused look on his face, and the teacher was helpless. He took out a piece of paper and handed it to Mo Shu. "Please fill out this form. After you fill it out, I will assign you a class and dormitory." Mo Shu took it and took a look. Name, contact details, chosen department, expertise. Don't even think about taking a long time to write, making the teacher feel a little helpless. What was there to think about? When the teacher saw Mo Shu's registration form, his eyes almost fell out. He looked at Moxio in disbelief and said, "Mo Shu, is there something wrong with your head? Are you sure you made the right choice?" Mo Shu glanced at his report and said, "That's right. Teacher, please help me enter it into the computer. It's getting late. I still have to go back to the dormitory to clean up." The teacher looked at the report form and didn't say anything for a long time. In the end, he sighed helplessly and entered Mo Shu's information into the computer. The registration is complete. He is in class 6, and his dorm is dorm 312 of dorm 9. Moxio stood up and said to the teacher, "Thank you, teacher. I'm leaving." The teacher waved his hand and whispered, "Young people nowadays are simply wasting their talent." Mo Shu bumped into Hao Ren as soon as he stepped out of the door. Seeing Mo Shu, Hao Ren immediately walked over and said, "Mo Shu, which dormitory did you get assigned to? Are you in the same dormitory as me?" "I'm from dormitory number 2, room 517. Hao Ren said in disbelief, "That's not right. I heard from the teacher that the power attack system is in building 1 and building 2. How did you get number 9? "Oh, I forgot to tell you. I suddenly changed my mind just now. I didn't choose the power attack system." "Which one did you choose?" Hao Ren asked in confusion. "Agility system." In Hao Ren's mind, only the agility type and the power type were close. If Moxio didn't choose the power type, he would definitely choose the agility type. Moxio shook his head. "No, I chose the support system." "What?" Hao Ren asked in shock. "Mo Shu, are you crazy? Isn't your skill an offensive skill? Why did you choose the support system?" "Hee, didn't you say so?" Mo Shu laughed strangely. "Some rich second-generation heirs like to go to a department with more girls. You also said that there are more girls in the support department." Wang Yu had also mentioned this before. Due to the limitations of their physiques, women's physiques were more inclined towards support and spells, while men's physiques were more inclined towards warriors and superpowers. Hao Ren looked at Moxio up and down and said in disbelief, "Are you a rich second-generation heir? Are you going for girls?" "What?" Mo Shu smiled. "Doesn't it look like it?" After saying that, Moxio turned around and left, leaving Hao Ren with his mouth twitching. "You really don't know a person's heart by his appearance. He looks like a talented person, but I didn't expect him to be a lecherous person." Hao Ren said righteously. He turned around and whispered, "Sigh, I'm jealous. I want to be willful too." Mo Shu took his luggage to building 9. Before he entered, he saw a girl coming out. He quickly confirmed it. "That's right. This is building 9. Why would there be a girl coming out?" She stood outside the door for a while and saw a boy coming out. She then went in at ease. After entering, Mo Shu finally understood. How was this a dormitory? It was clearly an apartment. Every dormitory was independent, so men and women could live in the same building. Moxio first reported to the dormitory management office on the first floor. The gatekeeper was an old man who looked to be in his 60s. He knocked on the door and went straight to the point. "Hello, I'm a new student reporting for the door key." Sir System glanced at Mo Shu and said, "Name? My name is Mo Shu. I was assigned to room 312. I have the final say in this building. Let me tell you a few rules. First, the room must be clean. Although I won't check the dormitory, I won't let you off easily if you let me know whose room is messy. 2. You are not allowed to fight anywhere in this building. Third, this building is for men and women. Men and women are not allowed to live in the same bedroom. If you can't stand it, go out and get a room. Fourth, you have to report that you haven't returned to the dormitory for a long time." After Sir System finished speaking, He handed a key card to Moxio. Moxio took the key card and left silently when he saw that Sir System did not want to speak anymore. He went up to the third floor and found room 312. He used the key card to open the door. The moment he entered the room, he felt a familiar feeling. The entire house was not big, but it was clean and simple. There was a living room, a kitchen, a bathroom, 2 bedrooms, and a balcony. Overall, it looked somewhat similar to Moxia's old house. The lights in the living room were on, so his roommate must have arrived before Mo Shu. Mo Shu called out softly, "Is anyone there?" A person ran out from one of the bedrooms. He was shirtless and had a very strong body. He was a whole size bigger than Moxio. I'm here. Hello. My name is Dongfang. You must be my roommate, right?" After Dongfang walked closer, Mo Shu realized that this fellow had developed too well. He was more than 1.9 meters tall, and his explosive muscles gave off a sense of oppression. The last time he saw such a person, it should be Moxia's first opponent in the underground arena, the bulldozer. Although Dongfang's figure was frightening, he gave off an inconspicuous feeling. Perhaps it was because of his relatively ordinary appearance and honest voice? Mo Shu extended his hand and shook Dongfang's hand. "Hello, my name is Mo Shu. Are you also a support type?" What surprised Mo Shu the most was that Dongfang looked like a student of the power attack system. Dongfang scratched his head awkwardly and said, "Actually, I could have applied for the power attack system, but my mom told me to find a wife in the university. In the end, after thinking about it, I still decided to apply for the support system." He didn't expect that not only was Mo Shu a weirdo, but his roommate was also a weirdo. Mo Shu suspected that the teacher at the registration office had deliberately divided the students. Otherwise, how could it be so coincidental that 2 students who were supposed to be power attack students had applied for the support system? Actually, Moxia's true purpose for reporting to the support system was to secretly research God's snooping. After such a long period of experience, Moxio knew that God's sight wasn't as simple as it seemed. In the underground arena, Shui Jin's skill was unable to lock onto Moxio, which meant that God's sight could not be detected. Mo Shu raised his head and glanced at Dongfang. It wasn't like they were all family. Dongfang pointed to a bedroom and said, "I came here first. I didn't know which bedroom to stay in, so I picked one randomly. Look, if you like my room, I'll give it to you." Mo Shu waved his hand and said, "No need. I'll stay in the other room. Have you eaten? Let's go out for a meal?" "I've eaten. I have to sleep. I drove all night yesterday and was busy all day today. I'm a little tired. I'll treat you to dinner after the opening ceremony tomorrow." Moxio nodded and said, "All right, you should rest first." After saying that, she took her luggage back to her room and packed up. Lu Ziyang had been calling Mo Shu. "Boss, where did you go? Why didn't I find you? I'm in room 312 of building 9. "Number 9 building?" Lu Ziyang exclaimed. "Support type?" "That's right. Boss, are you crazy? With your strength, you are the leader of the power attack system. Why would you go to the support system?" Moxio found an excuse and said, "In terms of actual combat, Teacher Wang Lei and Teacher Wang Yu have taught me more or less. I want to understand some support skills." "Tisk, boss, you're bad. This is not true. You're not going to the support system for a girl, right? Oh my god, Mu Qingyi just left, and you're already looking for another family?" Mo Shu couldn't be bothered with him and said, "Come and find me. Let's go out for a meal." After hanging up the phone, Lu Ziyang quickly found Mo Shu. The 2 of them went to the cafeteria together. It was 6 o'clock in the evening. Due to the large number of new students today, the huge canteen was a little crowded. Moxio searched for a long time before finding an empty seat for 2. Lu Ziyang said, "There are too many people here. I'm going to buy something to eat. Why don't you reserve a seat here?" Mo Shu nodded in agreement. He took advantage of the time Lu Ziyang left to look around. He noticed a girl in a fiery red dress sitting at the table next to him. The more he looked at her, the stranger he felt. This girl's dress was completely out of place with the others. The style of her red dress was very similar to Han clothes. Her facial features were exquisite and could be considered a first-class beauty, but no one came over to talk to her. No one even dared to share a table. The girl seemed to have noticed Moxio peeking at her. She suddenly turned her head to look at Moxio. Her gaze was like a sharp blade. Moxio secretly thought that this person was not to be trifled with. However, it was not easy to avoid being discovered, so he could only smile back. The girl in red seemed to have sensed that Moxio didn't have any ill intentions. After giving him a warning look, she continued eating. Mo Shu didn't look at her anymore. It was already very unreasonable to stare at a girl, and now that he was discovered, he was naturally embarrassed to look at her again. Lu Ziyang came back with a plate of dishes and said excitedly, "Boss, I didn't expect the dishes here to be so good." Mo Shu took a look. There were a total of 4 dishes, and they all looked pretty good. The two of them were about to start eating. Moxio picked up his chopsticks and was about to add more food when a hand appeared and hit Moxia's elbow. Mo Shu was caught off guard. He threw his chopsticks on the ground and looked up. 3 men were looking at Mo Shu and Lu Ziyang with dissatisfaction. Lu Ziyang immediately got angry. He slammed the table and stood up. "What do you mean? Are you looking for trouble?" The leader of the 3 said, "This is our seat. Hurry up and make way. We're going to eat." Moxio bent down to pick up the chopsticks that had fallen to the ground and placed them on the table. He turned his head to look at the 3 of them. "We're already eating here. Why do you say that this seat is yours?" "Because I ate here yesterday, so this seat is mine. Then I'll be eating here today," Moxio said. "From now on, this seat will be mine. You didn't manage to keep an eye on it, so I'm sorry." That person stretched out his hand and grabbed towards Mo Shu. Mo Shu leaned back and dodged, but that person missed and grabbed at him with his other hand. Moxio grabbed his hand and pulled him down, causing him to fall to the ground. The person laughed after falling down. He got up and said to Moxio, "Kid, you're hitting people in the canteen. Are you tired of living? I'm in pain all over. If you don't pay, I'll report it to the school. If you fight in the cafeteria, you'll be suspended or expelled." Mo Shu's brows were tightly knitted together. It seemed like this group of people was deliberately finding fault with him just to extort money. "I didn't expect that even Yanjing University would have a scum like you." That person did not want to be outdone. He directly lay on the ground and shouted, "Aiya! Beating someone up. A new student who just arrived is already beating someone up. Is there anyone who can stop me?" The 2 people who came with this person also cooperated very well. One of them went up to help him, while the other pointed at Moxio and shouted, "That's right. I saw it clearly just now. It was this person who hit him." Mo Shu sighed softly. What was going on? She didn't want to come over for a meal, so she looked up at Lu Ziyang and let him settle it. Lu Ziyang was originally watching the show with a smile. These people were really interesting. When he saw Mo Shu looking over, he immediately understood that they wanted him to deal with them. Before Lu Ziyang could pick up the phone, a cold and emotionless female voice was heard. "Get lost." The 3 people who were acting immediately got up from the ground and looked around to find the source of the voice. In the end, everyone's gaze was locked onto the red-dressed girl. When the 3 of them saw the girl, they were shocked and immediately walked over to bow and apologize. "Sister Xiao Hong, I didn't know you were here. Sorry for disturbing your meal." Xiao Hong glanced at Mo Shu and said to them, "Didn't you hear what I said just now? Get lost, get lost." The 3 of them ran quickly and disappeared in a moment. Mo Shu didn't expect this red-robed woman named Xiao Hong to be so awesome. He was glad that he didn't offend her. Since he had helped, he naturally had to thank him. Mo Shu stood up and wanted to go over, but he was pulled back by Lu Ziyang. Mo Shu didn't understand, but he still sat down opposite Xiao Hong. "Thank you for your help just now." Seeing Mo Shu sit down, Xiao Hong frowned slightly. She was clearly unhappy and placed her chopsticks on the table. It seemed like she wouldn't eat anymore. Xiao Hong ignored Mo Shu and stood up to say to Lu Ziyang, "Lu Ziyang, is this your boss? You have the same bad taste as your father." After saying that, he turned around and left. Mo Shu sat back down awkwardly. "What happened? You know him?" Lu Ziyang said helplessly. "Boss, don't ask about this. I can't even afford to offend her. If you meet her in the future, just hide if you can." Mo Shu curiously looked in the direction Xiao Hong had left. What kind of place was Yanjing University? What kind of place was Yanjing? The 2 of them were not in the mood to do such a thing. They hurriedly ate and went back to the dormitory to sleep. The next morning, Mo Shu didn't look for Lu Ziyang. The two of them weren't from the same faculty, and the opening ceremony wasn't arranged for them to sit together. Mo Shu and Dong Fang went out together. After breakfast, the two of them headed straight for the first training field. The opening ceremony was held there. Mo Shu looked very petite when he walked with Dong Fang, and the number of people who turned their heads along the way was not low. Upon entering the first training field, Mo Shu was stunned. Wasn't this too exaggerated? This stadium was the largest in the world. There was nothing inside except for the middle area and countless chairs around it. According to the data given by the teacher yesterday, Mo Shu and Dong Fang came to the designated area of the support department and sat down. It didn't take long for people to arrive one after another, filling up the entire martial arts field. With a resounding voice, Moxia's university life began. The opening ceremony officially begins. The opening ceremony has officially begun. First, let's introduce the history of Yanjing University. Our school was the first school to reopen after the war. Our school. Moxio thought that the opening ceremony would talk about some very important things, but it was actually just an introduction of the school's history and some of the school's rules. There was nothing else. In summary, there were the following points. Firstly, the school's education method was relatively free, and there was a lot of free training time. Third, the school encouraged duels and challenges, but it was forbidden for seniors to challenge juniors unless they had permission from the juniors. Fourth, look for the form teacher if there's anything. There were only a few rules in total. The first one said that you needed to work hard on your own. The second one meant that the education was completely based on actual combat. The third one was to protect the lower grade students. After all, one more skill meant that they would be stronger. The opening ceremony ended in less than 2 hours. After it ended, every class began to gather. Mo Shu and Dong Fang were both from class 6. The two of them came to a field in the number 3 training ground. A lazy man sat at the front. Seeing that almost everyone had arrived, he shouted, "Support class 6, gather." Mo Shu took a rough look. There were a total of 50 people in class 6. Indeed, there were more girls, accounting for about 3/4 of the entire class. "My name is Cao Fenglin. I'm your class teacher. You heard what I said at the opening ceremony. The education of Yanjing University is based on competition. The entire university life is a competition." Cough cough. The types of competitions were divided into individual battles and team battles. Sometimes, a pair battle would be added. There are 2 organizers for the competition. The first is the school's official competition. It's held once every school year and is divided into class battles, department selection battles, school selection battles, and national battles. The second is the student council's group battle. It will be held within the school. If you want to improve your combat ability, it is recommended to join a group. Because our support system is the weakest in the school, but we are popular in the group. If you want to get good results and represent the school, you have to practice more. Next, I'll talk about the advancement method. 2 people will form a group for the interclass battle. The first 2 groups will advance to the selection battle of the faculty. The class selection will begin now. Do you have any questions? Good, if not, then let's start. Huff. He recited the entire competition as if he was reading a script. After he finished, he even let out a long sigh as if he was finally relieved. Mo Shu didn't expect Cao Fenglin to be so perfunctory. This was a teacher from Yanjing University. But why did he feel that he was inferior to his high school form teacher, Gao Quan? After Cao Fenglin finished speaking, he sat down at the side. After a while, he realized that none of his classmates had moved. "Why aren't you guys starting?" A short-haired girl standing at the front of the class said, "Teacher, how are we going to compete? Also, how do we group them?" Cao Fenglin narrowed his eyes and said impatiently, "What's your name?" "My name is Miu Miu," the short-haired girl said. "All right, you are the class monitor now. You will organize the competition and divide the groups according to the dormitory. Each dormitory will form a team." Mo Shu and Dong Fang looked at each other. Wasn't this teacher too casual? Was this really the best school? Miu Miu was also a little helpless, so he could only brace himself and organize the group. There was no way he could do that. The cooldown time of a level 1 skill was 3 hours, and there were less than 2 hours before lunch. In other words, most people could only use their skills in the first match. The cooldown for the rest of the match had not ended yet, so they could not use them again. Mew Mew asked everyone to divide into groups and then said, "Does anyone have any suggestions? Is there any way to choose the 2 strongest groups within 2 hours?" Everyone fell silent. Only one battle could be fought. How could they determine which 2 teams were the strongest? How can we be fair? Even if the fastest elimination round was used, there would be a total of 50 people and 25 teams. After the first round, there would be 13 teams left. Most people would not be able to continue using their skills in the remaining matches. It was simply unfair. Mo Shu looked at the silent crowd and stood up. "Actually, everyone is thinking too complicated. It's fairest to only have one match, so let's just have one." Mew Mew frowned and said, "It's easy to say, but there's only one match. How can we choose 2? Could it be?" Mo Shu walked to the front. "That's right. It seems like the class monitor has already thought it through. There's only one answer. It's a battle royale. The last 2 teams will be the winners." Everyone started discussing this idea. Cao Fenglin also glanced at Mo Shu. From the moment Moxio thought things through, he knew that Cao Fenglin wasn't simple. The students had to think of their own ways. In the end, this was the only way. The free-for-all might not be fair to the other elements, but this was the support element. It was very difficult for the support element to be fair. On one hand, it was difficult to group them. If 2 people were in a group, who knew if these 2 people were pure healers? Without attack-type students, the support-type students would not be able to display their full strength. On the other hand, it was also unfair to have 2 people in a group. This way, only the 2 groups with the strongest combat ability would be selected, and not the people with the most practical support skills. Therefore, the battle royals in the support system were the fairest. It tested the students' combat ability and the support's ability to adapt. When should they support whom? After everyone unanimously agreed, Mew Mew announced that they would use Mo Shu's method, a battle royale. "Since no one has any objections, shall we begin the competition?" Mew Mew said. "I have an objection." Moxio raised his hand and said. Mew Mew was stunned. What was going on? Weren't you the one who suggested the free-for-all? Why do you have objections now? "What's your problem?" Mew Mew asked in confusion. Mo Shu looked at Cao Fenglin and said, "Teacher, I have a suggestion. I don't know if I can say it." Cao Fenglin still looked lazy as he said, "Speak. What suggestion? I don't think it's fair for each dormitory to have one group." "What do you think is the fairest? Is the purpose of the class selection to choose 2 teams of 4? Asked Mo Shu. Cao Fenglin nodded. "That's right, there are 4 of them." Mo Shu smiled and said, "Then why don't you give me something more exciting? We won't split into groups and fight on our own. The last 4 people will win. How about it?" Cao Fenglin's interest was piqued when he heard Mo Shu's words. He stood up and walked towards Mo Shu. Good, good. You're interesting, kid. I like you. Let's advance according to what you said. There's no need to divide into teams. Everyone will fight for themselves. The last 4 people will come. It was fairest for everyone to fight for themselves. This was especially important for judging the situation on the field. As soon as the match began, everyone was an enemy, and at the same time, everyone could be teammates. Whether they were friend or foe was entirely up to them. In a battle between 2 people, it was entirely up to them to decide who to buff. This was also the most important thing for support-type people, other than the strength of their skills, their judgment and adaptability. A good support might not be the leader, but they were definitely the ones who could judge the situation. Cao Fenglin's interest was piqued. He stood at the side of the arena and shouted, "Competition, begin." Let the competition begin. As Cao Fenglin's voice faded, the competition officially began. At the start of the match, everyone took a step back and did not rush to attack. They wanted to see the situation on the field. For a moment, no one made a move. The arena was in a deadlock because everyone knew in their hearts that whoever made the first move at this time would be the target of everyone. The silence didn't last long before it was broken by a bespectacled girl. She did not make a move. Instead, she pointed at Moxio and said, "Everyone, listen to me. He's from Shun City like me. He's the top scorer of the college entrance examination, and his skills are very likely to be extremely aggressive." Moxio widened his eyes as he looked at this girl. He had no impression of her at all. This way, Moxio would have no way to quibble. Everyone would definitely attack her together. He didn't expect to shoot himself in the foot. As expected, after hearing the girl's words, everyone hesitated for a second before attacking Moxio together. Moxio had no choice but to activate the descent of the martial god. His entire body flashed with golden light as he quickly flashed to the other side of the arena. At this time, he could not be careless. The people here were all support skills. If all these skills were added to one person, the skills would be ever-changing. He might not be a match for them. Mo Shu slowed down and started to face the enemy head-on. After 2 moves, he discovered that the people in front of him had skills, but there was no situation where many skills were stacked on one person. After thinking about it for a while, he understood that although he was the public enemy now, even if he was eliminated, the others would still continue to fight for the rest of the time. No one wanted to make a wedding dress for others. Those who could cast support skills on themselves would definitely do so on themselves. If they could not, they would definitely buff each other or cast them on people who were not in a state. After all, no one wanted to create a powerful enemy. This way, the pressure on Moxio was greatly reduced. With the buff of the war god's descent, it wouldn't be difficult for him to fight against these support-type people. However, support players generally had very strong physiques because they did not have strong self-defense abilities. They could only use their own speed and strength to fight against the enemy. Those who could enter Yanjing University were definitely outstanding, so their combat strength was much stronger than ordinary people. Mo Shu didn't have it easy either. Moxio frowned. Even if he was much stronger than the others, there were simply too many people on the other side. There were already more than 30 people who had joined the battle. Fortunately, these people weren't sincere in their cooperation. Occasionally, some of them would be ambushed, and the battle behind them would become chaotic, reducing some of the pressure on Moxio. Just as Moxio was feeling vexed, the situation on the field changed. 6 people suddenly helped Moxio fight against the others. Mo Shu took a closer look. It was Dong Fang, the class monitor Miu Miu, and 3 women and a man. Mo Shu didn't recognize them. At this point, the situation on the battlefield became clear. There were only 2 factions. Moxia's side had 7 people, while the other side had 38 people. 11 people were eliminated. Cao Fenglin was very satisfied with the battle and nodded his head slightly. Of course, the person who helped Mo Shu wasn't looking at Mo Shu pitifully. It was because they were stronger than the others. After the others defeated Moxio, they would definitely join forces to attack them. They had no choice but to help Moxio and form a temporary alliance. The girl who had just pointed out Mo Shu said, "Students who haven't used any skills, give me all your amplification skills. I'll deal with Moxio, and you guys deal with the others." As soon as this girl said this, many people added their skills to her. It was not because she was trustworthy, but because the benefits and risks were proportional. Although she received more skills, she would face the strongest Moxio. The match entered a white-hot stage. The battle on the field was extremely intense, and there were players who were eliminated at any time. The bespectacled girl had indeed exchanged blows with Moxio, but after only 2 moves, she felt that she was unable to defeat Moxio and retreated. From this moment on, Moxio began to slaughter in all directions. With 6 helpers, Moxio could harvest as much as he wanted. There was another person who was invincible in the crowd, and that was Dong Fang. Dong Fang's skill was very strange. After he released it, his entire body turned golden. It seemed that it had increased his defense and attack power. Moxio had originally wanted to take the bait in the middle of the scuffle before attacking. He did not expect that because of the bespectacled girl's report, he would have to fight with all his might from the start. However, there was also an advantage to this, which was that he had learned more strange skills. Moxio had personally seen a person making strange movements like rubber. This should have increased his flexibility by a lot. There were also those who immediately recovered and continued fighting after being knocked down and injured. There was also a girl called He Lingyue on Mo Shu's side. Her attack power was average, but her speed and agility were insane. Moxio believed that his speed was definitely faster than hers, but her agility was too terrifying. It was as if she knew what her opponent was going to do next and dodged in advance. She was not hit even once in the chaotic battle. As time passed, the number of people on the stage decreased, and the elimination rate increased. The bespectacled girl started by testing Mo Shu, then she started to fish in troubled waters in the middle, and then she started to attack the weakest student in the later stages. I just increased your speed. You can't eliminate me. You said that you would deal with Moxio. This is a solo battle, the girl said. There's no real alliance. If I can't beat him, do I have to die? I'm sorry. As the bespectacled girl switched sides, the main force did not have any top-notch combat strength and was quickly defeated. 2 minutes later, there were only 5 people left on the field. Mo Shu, Dong Fang, Miu Miu, He Lingyue, and the bespectacled girl. With one more person eliminated, the remaining 4 people would advance. At this moment, the 5 people stopped and looked at each other. Moxio was the most relaxed. He walked to the side of the arena and sat down, looking at the other 4. At this moment, the bespectacled girl said, "The current situation is very obvious. Moxio is the strongest here. We just need to join forces to defeat him and we can advance. With the strength of the 4 of us, there shouldn't be any problem." Mo Shu looked at the bespectacled girl carefully. What kind of grudge did this person have against him? From the beginning to the end, he had been targeting him. Moxio looked at the time and said, "Hurry up and end the match as soon as possible." Dong Fang, Miu Miu, and He Lingyue looked at each other. Miu Miu said to the bespectacled girl, "All right, we agree. However, you betrayed us before. We can't trust you completely. You'll take the lead. We'll take down Moxio together." The bespectacled girl was very satisfied with this answer. It seemed that the situation had been turned around this time. The bespectacled girl nodded and ran towards Moxio. The other 3 followed closely behind. Mo Shu didn't move. He remained seated on the spot, looking rather lazy. "Moxio, you're done for," the bespectacled girl shouted. Before he could finish his sentence, the 3 people behind him attacked together. They did not attack Moxio, but the bespectacled girl. They quickly knocked her to the ground. At this moment, Cao Fenglin said, "The name list for the advancement is out. The 4 of them are Mo Shu, Dong Fang, Miu Miu, and He Lingyue." The bespectacled girl said to Moxio in disbelief, "What happened? You knew that the 3 of them would attack me? Are they your people?" Mo Shu smiled as he stood up and walked to the center of the arena. "There are a total of 5 people on the stage. As long as one of them is eliminated, the others will advance. Then, who would choose to fight the strongest one? When you said that you wanted to join forces to defeat the both of us, you had already lost. You think that you have the hearts of the people and control the situation, but in fact, you are too involved to see." The bespectacled girl was stunned by Mo Shu's words. However, not long after, she started shouting at Cao Fenglin again. "Teacher, I don't agree with the results of this competition. Mo Shu and Dong Fang are not support skills at all. It's a waste of time talking to people like you." Mo Shu sighed. The bespectacled girl glared fiercely at Mo Shu. Cao Fenglin had a serious expression on his face. "This student, did you not hear the rules I explained at the beginning? The remaining 4 people would be the ones who advanced." Seeing that the teacher was a little angry, the bespectacled girl stopped talking. Cao Fenglin gathered everyone and said, "The class selection has ended, and the names of the 4 who have advanced have been confirmed. From now on, there will be no classes for the next half a month." "Teacher, does that mean that those of us who didn't advance have no chance?" asked another student. This student asked what everyone was thinking. If it was decided on the first day that they could not participate in the competition this semester, wouldn't it be a little too cruel? "Didn't you guys hear what they said at the opening ceremony?" Cao Fenglin asked. Yanjing University's education was based on competition. Everyone had a chance. There will be a class competition every month. The 4 winners can challenge the students who have already advanced. If they win, they can replace the students who have advanced. Due to the special circumstances of our support system, some students with outstanding skills may be directly selected by the teachers to advance. Everyone, don't relax. Everyone has a chance, and at the same time, everyone may fall behind. After hearing this, Mo Shu couldn't help but sigh at the teaching methods of Yanjing University. It seemed like there were no restrictions, but in reality, there was competition everywhere, making it impossible for people to relax for a moment. Cao Fenglin continued, "Half a month later, the 4 who have advanced will go to the faculty for the selection. The rest will come here for the interclass competition. All right, you are dismissed. For most people, their college life began in such a cruel way. Mo Shu. Wait. Cao Fenglin called out to Mo Shu. Mo Shu told Dong Fang to go eat first and stayed behind alone. Teacher. Why are you looking for me? Cao Fenglin looked at his phone and said, You're the top scorer of this year's college entrance examination? Yes, teacher. Mo Shu nodded. With your skills, you would be the best in the power attack system. Why did you choose the support system? For women. Nonsense. To relax. Nonsense. I chose it random LV. Nonsense. A commoner kid who got into Yanjing University through hard work. Why would he choose randomly? Moxio shook his head helplessly and said seriously, I'll want to form a team. Cao Fenglin's eyes widened. What kind of team? Mo Shu puffed out his chest and said word by word, an invincible team. A team that can sweep away everything in the world. Cao Fenglin narrowed his eyes and didn't say anything. Mo Shu thought that Cao Fenglin still had doubts and continued, because of this reason, I chose the support system. The support of a team is especially important. I also want to learn how to support thinking and be an outstanding leader. Cao Fenglin waved his hand and said, All right, I understand, you may leave. Moxio walked out of the number 3 training ground and felt relieved. He could finally relax now. This reason was enough to dispel the doubts of others. Actually, what Moxio had said just now was not completely fabricated. Moxio had thought about all these things. While he could make friends with more people, he could also train himself. Ring, ring, ring. The phone rang and Mo Shu picked it up. It was Lu Ziyang. Boss, where are you? Have you eaten? I just finished class. Let's have a meal together. Mo Shu and Lu Ziyang had agreed to meet in the cafeteria. This time, there weren't that many people in the cafeteria, so the two of them randomly found a seat and sat down. Boss, isn't Yanjing University too tiring? Lu Ziyang said with a tired face. Tired? Where are you tired? There are 60 students in our class, and we're going to have the interclass competition, Lu Ziyang said weakly. Me too. I've already chosen the list of people who will advance to the next round. What? How? Why so fast? In the free-for-all, the last 4 people have advanced. Lu Ziyang raised his thumb and nodded repeatedly. Awesome, we need to fight for half a month to confirm the advancement list. A round every day? Yes, I am. It won't take more than half a month, right? In the remaining days, the losers will challenge each other. Only the 4 winners can defend the arena to advance. The image of Cao Fenglin's lazy appearance appeared in Mo Shu's mind. It seemed like it had something to do with the form teacher. The reason why Class 6's selection method was so simple was definitely because Cao Fenglin had made his own decisions. When Mo Shu found out that the entire school's class had the same idea of the same thing as Lu Ziyang's, he instantly felt like he had been cheated. How did he end up with such a class teacher? Boss, the club is recruiting this afternoon. Which club are you going to join? Lu Ziyang asked Mo Shu. Mo Shu looked at Lu Ziyang and then held his head. This Cao Fenglin didn't even mention the club's recruitment. I don't know either. What clubs are there? Lu Ziyang quickly ate the rice in his bowl and stood up. I'm not sure either. Shall we go and take a look now? Mo Shu was also a little curious about the club. The main reason was that for the next half a month, everyone else would be in the class selection competition. He had nothing to do. The two of them came to the front of the teaching building, which was now surrounded by people. Mo Shu squeezed his way in with much difficulty. He realized that there were rows of tables and chairs inside, and there was a person sitting in front of each table. It was probably the club's recruitment registration office. Looking around, Mo Shu and Lu Ziyang had no clue. They were a little dizzy from looking at the various clubs. At this moment, a familiar figure appeared in front of Moxio and walked past him. Mo Shu's eyes were sharp and his hands were fast as he grabbed the ball. Hao Ren, what a coincidence. Seeing that it was Mo Shu, Hao Ren said excitedly, Mo Shu? I've asked around. You're actually the top scorer of the college entrance examination, and you've easily obtained the qualifications to enter the internal department selection. You're quite well informed, aren't you? Moxio was stunned for a moment. Hao Ren raised his right thumb and pointed at himself. Of course, I'm famous. Hao Ren from the encyclopedia. Halfway through his sentence, he saw Lu Ziyang beside Mo Shu and asked, "And this is?" Mo Shu glanced at Lu Ziyang and said, "This is my friend, Lu Ziyang." Hiss. But the son of the Lu Corporation, Lu Ziyang? Lu Ziyang smiled and said, "It's really an encyclopedia. Even I know about it." Hao Ren quickly shook hands with Lu Yang and said, "Of course. A small character like me has to know who not to mess with in Yanjing University." "You're one of them." Lu Ziyang said proudly, "Of course, but you look good. If there's anything in the future, just tell me." Hao Ren was overjoyed and shook his hand again. "Thank you, young master. Lu, for taking care of me." Then, he said to Moxio, "You two are here to join the club, right?" Mo Shu and Lu Ziyang nodded together. Hao Ren looked at the time and said, "Let me introduce you guys." This was Mo Shu's goal. He immediately said, "That's exactly what I want." Hao Ren didn't mind and said, "What kind of club do you want to join?" Lu Ziyang and I don't really know what kind of clubs there are. There were three main types of clubs. The first type was a restricted club with certain recruitment restrictions. For example, it only recruited students from the Power Attack Department. The second type is a hodgepodge club. As long as you are strong enough, you can join. The team formed by such a club is more balanced, and it is also the club with the largest number. The third type of club is a local club. For example, if you come from Shun City, there is a Shun City club. Then the strongest one should be a hodgepodge club, right? Hao Ren shook his hand. Not necessarily. There are 6 clubs in our school, and 4 of them are restricted clubs. 6 clubs? Lu Ziyang asked. What are there? Green Dragon, White Tiger, Vermilion Bird, Black Tortoise, Yanjing, and Chengxi. These 6 clubs have always been the strongest in Yanjing University. Among them, the 4 Divine Beast Society is a single attribute society. Azure Dragon only recruits males, Vermilion Bird only recruits females, White Tiger only recruits agility-type students, and Black Tortoise only recruits assault-type students. The Yanjing Club represents the strength of Yanjing. There are countless masters in it. Finally, there is Chengxi. Chengxi is known as the dawn of Yanjing University. They are also top existences. Mo Shu and Lu Ziyang more or less understood. This club seemed to be messy, but in reality, there were so many divisions. Hao Ren continued, "With your strength, I suggest you join the 6 major clubs. First, you can train yourself. Second, you can make a name for yourself." "Does the club restrict freedom?" asked Mo Shu. Hao Ren replied, "No, but there will be a tryout near the competition. It's more troublesome. Although the official competition time is staggered with the school's official competition time, most people who advance in both the school competition and the club competition will give up one of them." Mo Shu also started to think. If the official competition was staggered, then the time of the club selection would definitely clash with the school's official competition. Therefore, most people would focus on one side. What should they do? Don't even think about participating in as many competitions as possible instead of wasting time on the qualifiers. Lu Ziyang sneakily asked Hao Ren, "Are men really not allowed in the Vermilion Bird Club?" "I didn't expect Brother Lu to," Hao Ren asked with a strange smile. "Ahem. I'm afraid not. The Vermilion Bird Club doesn't accept any boys. You should apply for the support system like Mo Shu." Lu Ziyang tidied his clothes and pretended to be profound. "Hao Ren, I was just joking. Do you think a man like me would lack women?" Hao Ren gave her a thumbs up and said that she was awesome. After that, Lu Ziyang went around alone and returned 5 minutes later with a head full of sweat. "What's wrong?" asked Mo Shu, who was chasing after him. Lu Ziyang said with lingering fear, "Don't mention it. I was just about to go for a walk. When I walked to the Vermilion Bird Club's registration office, I saw Xiao Hong. Fortunately, I ran fast. Otherwise, I might have died there." Hao Ren widened his eyes and cupped his fists in admiration. Impressive, impressive. Brother Lu is indeed a big shot. You even have connections with people like Xiao Hong. Mo Shu looked at Hao Ren and thought, isn't this flattery too much? At this moment, Lu Ziyang and Hao Ren both looked at Mo Shu, waiting for his decision on which club to join. Hao Ren felt that he had nothing to do with this and was ready to leave. If there's nothing else, I'll be leaving. I'll contact you later. Mo Shu suddenly came back to his senses and stopped Hao Ren. Wait a minute, brother Hao Ren, I still have something to ask. Ha ha ha. Hao Ren laughed heartily. Ask me anything, I'll tell you everything I know. How do I create a club? Can I create it now that I'm a freshman? Hao Ren was surprised and quickly said, Mo Shu, with your strength, why did you create your own club? Now that the clubs in Yanjing University were basically stable, there was no room for new clubs to develop. Only those who couldn't enter the top clubs and were unwilling to join other clubs would create clubs. Oh? Mo Shu asked. Are these people's clubs not developing well? Of course not. Good, bad, too many problems. 1. Can't recruit people. 2. There are too few people in the club. After recruiting people, no competition. Mo Shu clapped his hands and said, That's great. I want a club like this. Tell me quickly. How do you create a club? Hao Ren looked at Moxio as if he was an idiot. This guy was too weird. The top scorer of offensive skills joined the support class, and he could choose any club he wanted. However, he created a useless club himself. The building next to the teaching building. The first floor is the student union. There is a club management office. Mo Shu held his chin as he pondered. 5 people? She suddenly looked up at Hao Ren. Brother Hao Ren, do you have a club now? Hao Ren took 2 steps back. Student union, club management office. At this moment, a staff member was receiving Mo Shu. Have you thought it through? Create a club? I've thought about it, Moxio replied. The staff member looked at the 4 people behind Moxio who had not spoken and said, Are you all willing? They were Lu Ziyang, Hao Ren, Dong Fang, and He Lingyue. This was almost everyone that Mo Shu knew in university. He had wanted to invite class monitor Miu Miu, but when he found Miu Miu, she had already joined the Vermilion Bird Club. I'll ask you again. Are you guys willing? Seeing that the 4 of them did not answer, Mo Shu lightly coughed a few times. Cough, cough, cough. Lu Ziyang had no choice but to say, Yes, I volunteered. Seeing Lu Ziyang express his stance, the others followed suit. The staff always felt that this group of people was strange, but it didn't matter. After all, this kind of club would usually disband within a month. Are there any requirements for joining the club? Mo Shu replied, No, what is the name of the club? Mo Shu scratched his head. He really hadn't thought about this. He turned around and looked at the 4 of them. The 4 of them had the look of, You decide. Mo Shu was overwhelmed. What kind of name should he come up with? He couldn't be too casual and too high profile. At this moment, Mo Shu's phone rang. It was Zheng Yi. He thought to himself, Zheng Yi, this kid, has come at the right time. This kid has many ideas. Wait a moment, Moxio said to the staff. I'll take this call and ask my friend for his opinion. I'll get back to you immediately. The staff was getting impatient. It was so difficult for these 5 people to create a club for fun. Zheng Yi, your call came at the right time. Zheng Yi casually said, You're too busy. You don't know how to call me and ask me how I'm doing. What's the matter? I want to create a club. What do you think it should be called? Zheng Yi said excitedly, F***CK. That's awesome. He even created a club. Let me think, I got it. What? Strongest Club. Mo Shu thought he had heard wrongly and repeated himself. What? The Strongest Club. The staff member at the side quickly filled out the declaration form and said to the few of them, All right, the club has been successfully created. There are no recruitment restrictions. Strongest Club, club number 666. The few of them looked at each other. Wasn't this too ridiculous? Moxio, can I still quit now? Hao Ren raised his hand and asked. Hello? Zheng Yi called out over the phone. Hello? Mo Shu? Why aren't you talking? Mo Shu and the others walked out of the management office before sighing and saying to Zheng Yi, I'll hang up first. You're really my good brother. Of course, between the 2 of us, beep, beep, beep. After Mo Shu hung up, he said to Lu Ziyang and the others, I'm sorry for the accident, but the club has been established, so this is the only way. Hao Ren, Lu Ziyang, and Dong Fang all looked bitter and reluctant. Only He Lingyue, who Mo Shu was not familiar with, spoke up for Mo Shu. Actually, I'll think the Strongest Club is not that bad, it's still acceptable. Mo Shu pointed at He Lingyue and praised, "Look, you three old masters, look at how enlightened he is. This is called enlightenment. If he can accept it, why can't you?" Lu Ziyang still felt very uncomfortable. "Boss, I don't think this name is bad. It's just that this name is too pretentious, it's easy to become a target for others." "Hey, why did we create this club?" Moxio said earnestly. "What do you think it's?" Mo Shu pointed at Hao Ren, signaling him to answer. "To prove yourself?" Hao Ren asked. Mo Shu nodded his head affirmatively. "Sigh, that's the point. Why did we come to Yanjing University? You need to become stronger in order to grow faster under pressure. Lu Ziyang, you're still not aware enough." After Moxio finished speaking, he walked forward by himself. After this persuasion, everyone reluctantly accepted the fact that they were the strongest club. Confused, Hao Ren asked Lu Ziyang, "Sigh, why do I feel that Mo Shu is different from usual? How could someone with such high awareness enter the support system?" Lu Ziyang shook his head and said, "Mo Shu calls himself Mo Yingdi. His acting skills are definitely first class." As they spoke, they caught up with Mo Shu. "Mo Shu, since our goal is to become stronger faster, should we start training tomorrow?" Dongfang asked. Mo Shu had never thought about training before. He wanted to complete a mission during these 15 days of free time. Dongfang's sudden question caused him to be at a loss for an answer. Seeing that Mo Shu didn't answer, Hao Ren interrupted, "Hey, brother Dong Fang, you don't understand. The most important thing for a new club is to recruit people. Mo Shu, can you organize our recruitment?" "Who said anything about recruiting new people?" asked Mo Shu. "The 5 of us are enough." Moxio had created the club so that he would not have to participate in the club selection. If he wanted to recruit people, wouldn't he have to choose again? Only 5 would be suitable for the competition. There was no need for selection. "Don't joke around, boss. Are you planning to only have 5 people in our club?" Lu Ziyang asked in surprise. Moxio nodded. "Yes, that's right. Is there a problem? The 5 of them could participate in the individual battle or the team battle." He Lingyue looked at the others and said, "Our configuration isn't very balanced. 3 offensive, 1 agility type, and I'm a semi-support. How can we fight in a team battle? The Black Tortoise Club can fight by force, so why can't we?" He Lingyue said, "But we only have 5 people, we don't even have a substitute." Moxio nodded and said seriously, "Indeed, 5 people is a little too little. How about this? I'll give you a mission, and the 4 of you will discuss and pull in 1 person. Remember, it's only 1 person." The 4 of them looked at each other. What kind of club did they join? Recruiting only 1 person. Mo Shu looked at the time. It was already night. "Let's have a simple meal together to celebrate the success of our club." The few of them were celebrating while looking miserable. They were simply unlucky. Mo Shu brought the 4 of them to the cafeteria. It was really just a simple meal. Ordinary meals, ordinary conversations, no lofty aspirations, no goals. The elders of the strongest club were born during this peaceful dinner. 9 p.m., Dorm 312, Dorm 9. Mo Shu lay on the bed. He could not believe that university life had begun. In the past, he had worked hard so that his mother could live a better life. Her mother's life was already very good now. In the future, she would work hard to protect the person she loved for the rest of her life. When he thought of this, Mo Shu remembered the girl who yearned for ordinary peace, Mu Qingyi. Mo Shu took out his phone and sent a message to Mu Qingyi. "How is it? Is everything going well at school?" After waiting for a long time, Mu Qingyi replied. "If you want me to call, please leave a message." Mo Shu unknowingly started to laugh. Mu Qingyi was still so mischievous. Oh, no, she seemed to only be mischievous towards him. Mo Shu made a call. I knew you missed me. I'm fine here. I'm not as sad as I thought. Everything is normal." That's good. How are you? Did you cause any trouble in Beijing?" "Of course not. Don't you know how obedient I am?" "Which part?" The phone call between the 2 of them lasted for half an hour. Mo Shu told Mu Qingyi about Yanjing University's competition education methods and how he had created the strongest club, making Mu Qingyi laugh out loud. However, after hanging up the phone, Mo Shu still realized that something was not right. Mu Qingyi used to be calm and elegant, but she kept joking around today. In the past, when the two of them were talking, Mu Qingyi would always be the one talking, while Mo Shu was more of a listener. But today, it was the other way around, and Mo Shu was the one talking. Although Mu Qingyi was talking all the time, she did not talk about herself. Mo Shu sighed. Mu Qingyi was actually not happy, right? Moxio couldn't fall asleep as he kept thinking about this. He opened the Shadow app to look for a quest. Beijing was different. There were many more missions than Shun City, and there were all kinds of missions. Mo Shu had to choose for a long time before he found a suitable mission. Pursuit mission. Pursue Wang Jinyang. Difficulty level B. Mission details. Wang Jinyang robbed a bank and escaped with a large amount of cash and precious herbs. Age, 24 years old. 3 skills are offensive skills and 1 skill is stealth. According to reliable sources, this person is still active around Yanjing. Mission completion condition. Capture Wang Jinyang and hand him over to the law enforcement team. Additional reward for handing over the stolen goods. Mission reward. 6,000 points, 4 million cash. Moxio felt that this skill wasn't too bad. Judging from the description, the person he was chasing should be an expert. Otherwise, it would be impossible for him to not be caught until now. However, he didn't know if he could defeat an expert with 4 skills with his current strength. Mo Shu felt that it was not safe for him to accept this mission alone. After thinking about it, he still gave this mission to Lu Ziyang. Lu Ziyang called directly. Boss, are you joking? A B rank hunting mission? Even if we can find him, can we beat him? Other than the investigation mission, the other missions that required the help of the law enforcement team would be rewarded. I have my own way. Lu Ziyang complained. Boss, you've already advanced. I still have to compete in the class competition. I compete in the day and carry out missions at night. How tiring is that? All right then, I won't bring you along. I'll go by myself. Lu Ziyang immediately changed his words. All right, all right, all right. I'm afraid of you. But you have to tell me what your plan is. Let me learn. Hee, you'll know tomorrow. The next morning, in the activity room of the strongest club. Moxio had come early in the morning to apply for a room that was less than 30 square meters. The staff had made it very clear that with the current scale of the strongest club, they could only apply for this room. However, Moxio didn't mind. There was no training or selection anyway. There were only 5 people in total. It was fine as long as there was a place for the meeting. Lu Ziyang and Hao Ren were both going to participate in the class selection, so Mo Shu called for a meeting before class started. After they arrived, they were all very puzzled. Moxia's performance yesterday clearly showed that he wanted to be a hands-off manager. Why did he suddenly wake up after only 1 night? Mo Shu, why did you call us here? Hao Ren asked. There was no training, no selection, and no recruitment. Sigh. There's no need for a proper club to do such flashy things, Moxio said shamelessly. Dong Fang asked seriously, then what does a proper club like ours have? Mo Shu praised, look at Dong Fang. He knows what to ask. We're a proper club. A proper club has missions. When Lu Ziyang heard this, he finally understood what Mo Shu wanted to do. So this was the method Mo Shu had mentioned last night? Pulling the entire club into a trap? Moxio took out a few pieces of printed mission information and handed them to them. Lu Ziyang took it and looked at it. As expected, it was the capture mission of An Ying. When Dong Fang saw the mission, he was a little excited. He had never come into contact with this before. Hao Ren and He Ling Yue both looked at Mo Shu strangely. What's wrong? Asked Mo Shu. Why are you looking at me like that? Boss, you joined the law enforcement team? Hao Ren asked tentatively. Mo Shu shook his head. Then why did you receive such a mission? Hao Ren asked again. Before Mo Shu could answer, He Ling Yue continued, this is not the task of the law enforcement team. If the law enforcement team has such information, they will definitely send out a small team to capture them. They will not issue a task to let people escape. Mo Shu looked at He Ling Yue with interest. He didn't know He Ling Yue very well, but he didn't expect her to be such a meticulous girl. Where do you think the mission came from? Hao Ren asked He Ling Yue. He Ling Yue pondered for a moment and said, the information is more well informed than the law enforcement team. and they can also issue missions. That can only be the shadow. Mo Shu couldn't help but applaud He Lingyue. She had figured out that it was Shadow's mission based on this little clue. Other than having a clear mind, she also had a certain understanding of the various departments. Mo Shu was a little curious about He Lingyue's background. Lu Ziyang couldn't help but say, DMN, this girl is amazing. Moxio and I are indeed Shadow. Mo Shu didn't mind Lu Ziyang revealing his identity. Wang Yu had said before in the cosmic tuition class that the Dark Shadow wasn't a secret organization that needed to be kept a secret. Previously in Shun City, he didn't publicly announce that he was Shadow, mainly because he wanted to hide the Universe Cram School. That's right, this is our Shadow's mission. You guys should consider if you want to join us. Hao Ren and Dong Fang didn't really believe Lu Ziyang's words. He had never heard of it before. As for He Lingyue, she only said that this was a Dark Shadow mission. She didn't expect Mo Shu and Lu Ziyang to be Dark Shadow members. Now that Moxio had spoken, they were certain that these two were monsters. How did you join Shadow? He Lingyue asked. As far as I know, Shadow's recruitment requirement is 2 skills, and only 1 in 10,000 people are selected. Many of the school's top talents are not selected. Mo Shu directly said, L can't tell you how I got selected. Do you guys want to participate in this mission? Hao Ren said, I'd like to join. After all, it's Shadow's mission. I want to see it. But the reward, do we have a share? Dong Fang, who had been in a daze and did not speak, looked at Mo Shu expectantly when he heard about the reward. I've already given you a reward in the information I gave you just now, Moxio said. Else 6,000 points and 4 million in cash. Do any of you want to quit? If not, I'll talk about the reward distribution. Seeing that no one spoke, Mo Shu continued. This mission is divided into 2 phases, investigation and arrest. Hao Ren and Lu Ziyang have to attend classes in the morning, so they can't participate in the investigation completely. The 2 of them shook their heads. You won't need the points. I'll split it with Lu Ziyang. I'll get 4,000 points. Lu Ziyang will get 2,000 points. Dong Fang and He Lingyue will each get 1.5 million, and Hao Ren will get 1 million. This time, Moxio didn't want to be egalitarian. It was better to use a reasonable distribution method. The few of them were very satisfied with Moxio's distribution. After considering it thoroughly, they all nodded and agreed. All right, Mo Shu said. The first meeting of the strongest club is over. Hao Ren and Lu Ziyang, go to class. He Lingyue and Dong Fang, get ready to go with me to investigate. Mo Shu suddenly thought of something and stopped Lu Ziyang. By the way, Lu Ziyang, Chang Zi is from your company, right? Can we use it temporarily? Lu Ziyang said indifferently, of course you can. Qiangzi is my dad's chauffeur at Yanjing University. I've already told him. If you want to go out and find him, you can contact him yourself. After bidding farewell to Lu Ziyang and the other 2, Mo Shu contacted Chang Zi. Chang Zi was also from the support system. His skills were not practical and he was eliminated early in the 3rd-year interclass competition. This was also the reason why Chang Zi came out to find a part-time job. Chang Zi was on call and soon drove to the school gate. Mo Shu and the other 2 got into the car. Boss, where are you going? Chang Zi asked as soon as he got on the car. Moxio handed the map marked on the mission information to Chang Zi. Have you been to this place before? We found a secluded spot to park the car and walked over. Chang Zi frowned and said, Boss, you want to go to Fan Street? What are you going there for? What happened there? Asked Mo Shu. Let's go carry out the mission. Chang Zi nodded and said, I'm on a mission. It's very chaotic there. It's in Yanjing, but it's not under Yanjing's jurisdiction. It's a chaotic area. There are all kinds of ghosts and monsters there, and there's often a black market. Have you been there before? Asked Mo Shu. Do you know anything about that place? Chang Zi answered truthfully, I've taken a few business deals. Some bosses wanted to go to the black market there to buy things. For safety reasons, they brought me there. Of course, they had a lot of bodyguards. I've been waiting in the car and didn't go in. Mo Shu looked at Dong Fang and He Lingyue, wanting to know what they knew about Fan Street. Dong Fang shook his head, indicating that he didn't know. He Lingyue said, I've been to Fan Street once. It's not as chaotic as I thought. Most people are very law-abiding, but it's very dangerous if you offend someone there. Murders often happen. Alright, let's go and take a look first. There was one thing that interested Moxio, and that was the black market. The things in the black market had unknown origins and could have been robbed. If he wanted to sell them, the price would definitely be cheaper. Mo Shu and the others were dressed somewhat like students, so they had specially bought some clothes from the mall. After changing their clothes, they went straight to Fan Street. Mo Shu and the other two got out of the car and told Chang Zi to return to school first. They would contact him if there was anything to prevent him from giving himself away. The three of them had been carefully styled. Mo Shu was dressed in an exaggerated manner, looking like a rich kid. He Lingyue was dressed in branded clothes. She wasn't very flirtatious, but she exuded an aristocratic aura as she played Mo Shu's girlfriend. As for Dong Fang, he didn't even need to dress up. He wore a black suit and looked like a bodyguard. When the three of them walked into Fan Street, it was obvious that the two rich second-generation heirs had brought bodyguards here to look for excitement. Fan Street was indeed a street, and on both sides of the street were 2 rows of residential buildings. This location was very special. It was a street with 2 rows of residential buildings. It was surrounded by mountains and there were no other buildings around. It was like a lonely tribe. Because it was surrounded by mountains, ordinary vehicles couldn't enter. Mo Shu also asked Chang Zi to park the car at a farther place. The three of them had to climb over a mountain to reach this place. As soon as they entered the street, Mo Shu sat down by the roadside and said, "What the hell is this place? I still have to climb the mountain to come in. I'm so tired." He Lingyue saw Mo Shu sitting on the ground and immediately came over to persuade him. "Aiya, why are you sitting down? It's already noon. We might not be able to leave today, let's find a place to stay first." When Mo Shu heard this, he jumped up and grabbed He Lingyu's shoulder. "Baby, why are you in such a hurry? You've only just arrived, and you're already thinking." He Lingyue gently pushed Mo Shu away and said, "Aiya, you're so bad. Let's get down to business first." When the people around them saw Mo Shu and He Lingyue like this, they were no longer surprised. There were too many people like this. Mo Shu and the other two walked around and were surprised to find that Fan Street had all kinds of places. After taking a look, Moxio almost thought that this was a resort. There was no bad atmosphere here, and every shop owner was trying to attract business. Mo Shu and the other two entered a small restaurant and were immediately welcomed by a shop assistant. "What would you like to eat?" Mo Shu glanced at the shop assistant and said to He Lingyue, "Baby, what do you want to eat?" He Lingyue looked at the decorations in the shop with disgust. "Aiya, what can a small shop like this have? Just take a bite. Bring up all your best dishes. Hurry up," Mo Shu said to the shop assistant. The shop assistant agreed and went down. The dishes were served very quickly, but the dishes were very ordinary. They were all vegetarian dishes that they usually ate. "What's wrong with you?" Moxio asked the shop assistant unhappily. "Did you not understand what I said just now? I want your best vegetables." After the shop assistant served the dishes, she became much more unyielding and said disdainfully, "What's wrong? Was this boss looking for trouble? This is our best dish." Mo Shu slammed the table. Dong Fang immediately stood up and grabbed the shop assistant's collar. The shop assistant was caught, but he didn't panic at all. He shouted, "Someone is causing trouble." 7 or 8 people appeared out of nowhere in the originally small store and surrounded Mo Shu and the other two. Mo Shu stood up and shouted at this group of people, "Aiya, are you trying to scam me? Do you know who I am?" One of the burly men walked over and said, "It doesn't matter who you are here. Everything in Fan Street is based on strength. Don't ask for names. Today, you guys 0 decnant 1y eat your rua anna pay tne dill." "You," Moxio said angrily. "You." At this moment, He Lingyue said to the burly man, "Misunderstanding, it's all a misunderstanding. We just wanted to have a simple bite. Alright, don't forget why we're here." Mo Shu suppressed his anger and sat back down. Dong Fang also let go of the shop assistant and sat down. The big man smiled and said, "Kid, look at your girl. She's more sensible than you." Mo Shu turned his head around and ignored the burly man. The burly man said to He Lingyue lecherously, "Beauty, my name is Prisoner. Come and find me when it's convenient." When Mo Shu heard this, he was so angry that he cursed, F***CKU. How dare you flirt with my woman? The prisoner laughed and left. Mo Shu was still talking about something at the table, causing the people around him to laugh out loud. Wasn't this just a lack of ability and only knew how to act cool? After the meal, Mo Shu went to the front desk to pay the bill. The 4 vegetarian dishes cost a total of 5,000 yuan. Moxia's heart twitched, but he didn't seem to mind as he threw out the cash. After paying the bill, Mo Shu left unhappily. He Lingyue stayed behind. He Lingyue found the prisoner and asked, "This big brother?" When the prisoner saw He Lingyue, he chuckled and said, "So what if she's a beauty? Are you tired of your useless boyfriend and want something exciting?" He Lingyue said helplessly, "Sigh, if it weren't for the fact that I had no choice, who would want to follow him? I'm here to ask about some things." "What is it?" asked the prisoner. "We came here to look for some things in the black market. I heard that the things in the black market are more complete than the market, but we didn't find any black market just now." When the prisoner saw that He Lingyue had something to ask of him, he immediately lost interest. "I can also tell you. You can either exchange it with money or you. In this place, no one will help you. Everything is a transaction." "I'll exchange it with money," He Lingyue said. The prisoner stretched out 3 fingers and said, "I won't cheat you, 30,000. He Lingyue took out 30,000 yuan of cash from her bag and handed it to the prisoner. The prisoner took the money and waited before saying, "The black market starts at midnight every night. It's on the street. There's a small market every day and a big market every 3 days. The big market just ended and there'll be a big market the night after tomorrow." He Lingyue nodded and said nothing more. She turned around and walked out of the store. Mo Shu and Dong Fang were waiting at the door. He Lingyue looked at each other when she came out. "Let's find a place to rest first," He Lingyue said. "All right," Moxio said lazily. "Let's quickly find a place to stay. I'm exhausted from the journey." It was easy to find a place to stay. There was only one hotel on Fan Street. Surprisingly, it was quite large and occupied an entire building. There was a big advertisement outside the hotel. Fan Street's safe haven. As it was a residential building, the rooms inside were all ordinary. Mo Shu chose a room with 2 bedrooms and a living room. He didn't need to show his ID card or register his name. He just needed money and a deposit. The 3 of them had just entered the room when Dong Fang said, "We." Mo Shu interrupted him halfway. "What are you standing here for? Don't disturb our interest, go back to your own room." Mo Shu and He Lingyue looked at each other and began to search the room. "Dong Fang, how's your room?" Mo Shu asked half an hour later. Dong Fang came out and said, "I just found out that you were afraid of being monitored. I looked in that room, but there was nothing." The 3 of them sat on the sofa. Mo Shu asked He Lingyue, "How did your inquiries go? Where is the black market?" He Lingyue told Mo Shu everything the prisoner had told her about the black market. "Mo Shu, aren't we here to look for Wang Jinyang?" Dong Fang asked in confusion. "Why are you acting?" Mo Shu explained, "You just need to act as your bodyguard. If we were to look for Wang Jinyang directly, not only would we alert the enemy, but it would also cause dissatisfaction in this place. Did you see what happened at the restaurant just now? This place was not as peaceful as it seemed." He Lingyue continued, "If you want to find Wang Jinyang, the best way is to enter the black market and lure him out, right?" Mo Shu nodded. Now he felt that He Lingyue was very smart. They hadn't discussed this before coming, but she had been cooperating very well. Mo Shu saw that Dong Fang still didn't quite understand, so he continued to explain. "Do you remember the information given by the mission? Wang Jinyang robbed the bank and had a lot of cash on him. He also had a spirit-gathering grass. This grass is the key. I guess he's probably preparing to make a move here." "How can you be sure that Wang Jinyang hasn't sold it yet?" Dong Fang asked. "If it were me, I wouldn't easily sell a precious herb of unknown origin," said Mo Shu. "I would definitely find a fool to raise the price." He Lingyue covered her mouth and pointed at Mo Shu. "Moxio is currently playing the role of this fool." Dong Fang suddenly understood and said, Mo Shu, you've performed the essence. If I were Wang Jinyang, I'd sell it to a fool like you." Mo Shu rolled his eyes at Dong Fang. What they needed to do now was to wait until midnight to go out and see the black market. At this moment, Lu Ziyang sent a message. Boss, Hao Ren and I are done with class. Shall we go over and find you now? He Lingyue looked closer and said, there's no need for them to come, right? If they come to meet up with us, it might arouse the suspicion of others. Lu Ziyang and Hao Ren don't need to join us, Mo Meng said after a pause. They can act alone. They have their own uses. What use is it? He Lingyue asked. Do you think Wang Jinyang came here for any other purpose other than selling herbs and taking refuge? He Lingyue pondered for a moment and shook her head. She couldn't think of any other possibility. Ha ha ha, women don't understand, Moxio said. As she spoke, she replied to Lu Ziyang's message on her phone. Dong Fang was not listening to the conversation between the two. Instead, he turned on the television and was laughing loudly. At 11:30 p.m., Moxio and the other two went downstairs. When they reached the hotel counter, Moxio asked, Hey, bro, this fan street is so awesome. Is there that kind of place? A place where you can spend money to play? The young man at the counter glanced at He Lingyue and said, Yes, it's just in front. It's easy to find at night. Hee, thank you, brother. Mo Shu laughed lewdly. He gave the counterman a look that said, You know what I mean. He Lingyue grabbed Mo Shu's ear and said, We're here for serious matters. The three of them walked out of the hotel. He Lingyue appeared on the street with Mo Shu by her arm, and Dong Fang followed behind them. It wasn't even 12:00 feet clock yet, but there were already some people preparing to set up their stalls. Mo Shu carefully observed the people who were setting up stalls. Most of them were locals who lived here, but there were also some who came from outside to sell things. At the same time, Hao Ren and Lu Ziyang also arrived. Brother Lu, what's our mission? Hao Ren asked. After my efforts, our mission is very simple, Lu Ziyang said proudly. What mission? Lu Ziyang took out a printed photo of Wang Jinyang and handed it to Hao Ren. Remember Wang Jinyang's appearance, the rest is just for fun. The two of them didn't even look at the black market on the street. They went straight to the place that Moxio had mentioned. He Lingyue happened to see this scene. He Lingyue whispered into Mo Shu's ear, This is your arrangement? Is this something that women don't understand? Moxio replied, A man who stole so much cash and a precious herb to come here instead of running away could only have two goals. One is to sell medicine to earn money, and the other is to spend money for fun. He Lingyue said in an inaudible voice, Despicable. As the three of them walked, the entire black market was revealed. Both sides of Fan Street were filled with stalls. Moxio walked over to a shop and squatted down to see if there was anything good. However, as he looked around, he saw that it was filled with common herbs and weapons. He asked for the price and found that it was about 30% lower than the market price. It was still a considerable price. From a rough look, there was nothing important. After chatting with the stall owner, he realized that good things were hard to come by. They either appeared in the market or were occasionally sold in a hurry and had to be taken out. Mo Shu and the other two walked around and were about to go back to sleep when an item on a stall caught Mo Shu's attention. It was a short black scabbard. Moxio was interested in this because the dagger that Elder Tang had given him previously did not have a scabbard. The black dagger was extremely sharp, and it was very inconvenient to carry it without a scabbard. Moxio crouched down and did not directly ask for the price of the scabbard. Instead, he pointed at a medicinal herb that he did not recognize. Boss, what is this? When the stall owner saw that Mo Shu was so gullible, he immediately said, This is an extremely precious medicinal herb that can strengthen the body. Oh, Mo Shu's eyes lit up. Would it improve his body greatly? I'm here to find herbs to improve my physical fitness. As long as the herbs are good, no matter how much it costs, it's not a problem. When the boss saw Moxia's idiotic look, he immediately flattered him. Needless to say, the energy contained inside is extremely strong. It has reached the spirit level. I'll give you a cheaper price, 500,000. Mo Shu found it funny. Herbs were divided into 4 levels according to the energy they contained. The human level was the more expensive herbs on the market. Most of them were used to strengthen the body. It was different when one reached the spirit level. It could have a breakthrough in a certain aspect. For example, the spirit ring that could upgrade a skill from level 1 to level 2 was a spirit level herb. Mo Shu had never even seen earth grade or heaven grade herbs before. The spirit-gathering grass that Wang Jinyang had stolen this time was at the peak of the spirit grade, and its effect was to completely improve one's physical fitness. As for this lousy herb in the stall, it was still questionable whether it had reached the human rank or not. Although he thought that this boss was really evil, Moxio looked very tempted on the surface. As he spoke, he was about to take out the money. Lingyue stopped him. "We're not buying it, boss, aren't you too ruthless? This thing looks like a weed. Let's go." Seeing that he had been seen through, the boss immediately called out to Mo Shu and the others. Hey, don't go. I have something new here. Do you want to take a look?" When Moxio heard that it was something novel, he stood up and squatted down again. "Boss, what is it? Show me." The boss took out something from his pocket. Moxio took a closer look and saw that it was a pistol. Lingyue obviously didn't expect that there would be firearms in this place. Mo Shu snatched it over and held it in his hands. The boss smiled and said, "Be careful. This can be used. Don't let it go off. Noble children like you love this kind of thing the most." "Boss, how much is it?" Lingyue asked. "I think even if this is the black market, this kind of thing can't be sold openly, right?" "The lady is right. How about I sell it to you for 100,000 yuan? Mo Shu took out 100,000 yuan and handed it to the boss. "Deal. I'm not bargaining. You have to give me something." The boss pointed at the herbs that Moxio had just seen and said, "How about this herb as a gift to you?" Moxio grabbed the scabbard and said, Don't want that stupid grass. I'll just take anything." With that, he turned around and left. The boss shouted from behind, "No, come back. I'll give you something else." "Sigh, I've lost it."